right, so we're gonna be preparing to go live on YouTube now. I will be sending out the YouTube link just in case if we get over to 100 participants, and I think right now we have 30. So hopefully we won't need that. Please be reminded that you guys are live on YouTube. Watch what you say, watch what you do. Thank you. Andrique, I'm sending you the YouTube link. Really, you don't need to send it out until we get to about 60 persons. All right. I think in terms of participants, you may not need.
No, send it out from now, please.
All right, Andrew, send it out, please. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. Let's get started. All right. Hold on. I have no idea where thing is. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
You can just mute your mic, unmute your mics, and say good afternoon. You know.
Good afternoon, guys.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I do hope you're all doing okay. My name is Janelle Small. I am the president of the Mona Law Society, and it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to our first general meeting. And it's gonna be a nice, great meeting. We're going to go from 2 to 2:30, and then afterwards we'll be having the launch of the Mooting Club. And I know a lot of persons are excited about that. I know our LEO is excited about that, and we hope that you will stay on for that. All right. So at this time, the meeting is officially called to order at 2:01 p.m. And at this time, we're going to ask the first Vice President, Ms. Gabrielle Francis, to make the welcome and opening remarks.
Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a special shout out to our incoming first year students. I pray you guys are having a great day. Welcome to our first general executive meeting of the Mona Law Society. We, the Mona Law Society, are one big family here to help and support each other, even more so now that we're in this COVID-19 pandemic. On behalf of the Mona Law Executive, we are here to help, serve, and assist you in the best way we can. And again, I welcome you and wish you an amazing year.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. All right, so at this time, just to start off our meeting, not sure if someone is here, so we're going to be asking Akeelia Richards, Miss Law, to be just starting off this meeting with prayer.
All right, everybody, you can close your eyes wherever you are. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for having our first very meeting, Lord. Lord, I want to thank you for bringing us all here on this space, Lord. Lord, I want to thank you for the first years, Lord, for allowing them to get their acceptance, Lord. Lord, I want to thank you for the second years and for the third years, Lord Jesus, as we are on our final leg for some of us. And as we continue this program, Lord, I pray that you'll help us with our studies. I pray that you will help us as an exec, Lord, as a society, Lord Jesus, to just bond together and to just try and work our very best together to get this degree. Lord, we want to thank you for this meeting, Lord, and we pray that you bless it. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Your mic, Janelle.
Sorry, my bad. So amen to that prayer. Thank you so much, Akeelia. And it's also very important that we start off our year by acknowledging God. So at this time, we're going to be having the introduction of our executive, the Mona Law Society executive. And my team is amazing and I love them so much. And we are excited and we are ready to engage you in so many activities and ensure that we give back to students through our service, through our initiatives, through our everything. So at this time, we're going to be doing that. So execs, you know what to do. I'll start off. My name is Janelle Small. I am the president of the Mona Law Society and the Faculty of Law Guild representative. And I am so happy to see you all. I hope to see you guys in person soon and not while I'm in my room. But I'm looking forward to having a great semester with you all. And we'll be talking a little bit about, what we're going to be focusing on this semester and the upcoming for the entire year very soon. So look out for that. Gabrielle?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gabrielle Francis. I'm the first vice president of the Mona Law Society, and I too welcome you and wish you a really good year. I'm looking forward to a really interactive session today and for the rest of the year, and I look forward to working with you guys.
Hey everyone, my name is O'Neill Cornaldi and I'm your second vice president for this academic year. And I'm so excited, I'm thrilled that you all are here in the Faculty of Law, new incoming students and returning students. You made it past another lap, so congrats to you too. It's a very interesting year. We have so much in store, so much planned for you, and we look forward to working for you and with you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Kwaku Cummins. The third year representative. I want to share the comments made by my colleagues in welcoming everyone to a new academic year. I especially want to welcome back my third year students, and we look forward to wrapping up this journey. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zandra Roach. I'm the General Secretary for the Mona Law Society 2020-2021. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to a great semester, a great year. Shannon.
Hi, afternoon, everybody. My name is Shannon Young. I'm the Legal Education Officer of the Mona Law Society, and I definitely concur with all my colleagues. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody, especially our first years. We know you guys have had it particularly rough this year, and we feel for you. We love you so much, and we're glad to finally have you here. I'm excited for everything that the executive has planned for this year, especially with the mooting launch in a few. So join us, and thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jelana Blackstock. I am the Mona Law Society Treasurer for the academic year 2020-2021. I would like to congratulate you guys for starting this journey, and I do look forward to a great academic year.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrique Manahan and I'm your current Public Relations Officer. I want you guys to follow all our social media pages so you guys can stay updated with all the latest information, not only from us, but also faculty and other clubs and societies. For our Instagram page and Twitter page, it's the same handle at Mona Law Society. Subscribe to our YouTube, so don't only watch it here. Subscribe. There's more in store. And Facebook, if you have aunties, mother, uncle, everybody who is on Facebook, send them over to the Mona Law Society page so we can grow and have that page more active.
Hi everyone, my name is Matthew Williams. I am your returning officer for this year. Most of you will get to know me when it comes time for elections, as well as, of course, the upcoming first year representative race. I share the sentiments. Congratulations, firstly, for those first years that made it in. It clearly wasn't an easy ordeal, lots of waiting and uncertainty, but I'm glad that you're here and I trust that you'll all keep safe in this time. So welcome again, and I look forward to engaging with you all throughout the rest of this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shamar Bryan. You're Mr. Law for the 2020-21 academic school year, and I look very forward to working with you all, meeting you all, and I'm saying, it's gonna be a great year despite all that's going on. I'm looking out for you guys, and I hope you look forward for each other too.
Hi everyone, I am Akeelia Richards. I'm your Miss Law 2020-2021. And I just want to say welcome to all new and returning students. It's going to be a great year.
Hi everyone, my name is Shanique Sommerville and I am your current Mona Law Sports Chairperson. I'd like to welcome you all and also wish you congratulations on your most recent success. My wish for you is that we can all stay active this year.
Hi, good day, everybody. My name is Joshua Page, and I am your welfare chairperson for the academic year 2020-2021. I too echo the sentiments of everybody else so far. I hope we have an amazing year. And, we know it will probably get a little sticky so far with what has been happening. But, guys, we can get through it. We will get through it. And I'm wishing you all the best as you continue out in this academic year.
Jill, I think it's your turn.
Hi, you guys didn't hear me when I went after Shannon.
Oh, my bad.
Okay.
Over to you, Janelle.
All right. Hey guys. Hey. So flow fighting out right now flow fighting out everything. But I hope you can hear me. Definitely. Unfortunately, some of our executive members could not be here today. Such as sorry for my dogs, such as Tamoy, or second year representative, Shadeen, our CAC, Sasha, our recording secretary. I believe our international student representative, that's Mr. Delmar Taylor. Also our direct representative, Ms. Peter Ford. So, in their absence, we recognize them. All right. So next on the agenda, my dog is doing the most
As
right
well
now.
as Kivana.
Next on the agenda is an update. Oh, apologies. And our PCC, Publications Committee Chairperson, Ms. Kivana Chambers. So all these beautiful graphics that you've been seeing on our pages, that is done by our PCC, Ms. Kivana. All right. So at this time, I'll be having an update and a report from your president. That's me. Again, I'm Janelle Small for those who just came on. And just in case you don't know who we are, the Mona Law Society is a student-led organization of the Faculty of Law at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Our mandate is to cater to the concerns of students and ensure that we cater to you in the areas of academics, welfare, advocacy, and development. This year, it's going to be a great year. This year, of course, you guys have been hearing the theme, which is, somebody say it, anybody, a student, not an exec. Anybody. Don't make me look bad now. Anyone? Don't be shy. All right, I see it in the chats. Achieving the golden standard. And black and gold, as you can see, are the colors of the Mona Law Society, and it signifies the principles of liberty, freedom, and integrity, which is branded on our polo shirts. And therefore, any vision for this society must be branded as golden, and which is the highest standard of ultimate success. And this golden standard involves a commitment from the executive, firstly, in terms of catering to you, providing golden service, initiatives, and opportunities. But I like to think of the golden standard as a personal commitment to oneself. Um, because the golden standard really means getting to the highest level of academic learning and personal development to develop students in a holistic manner. As Aristotle put it, it's not attained by pure luck or by accident, but rather it is the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It's the wise choice of many alternatives, because choice, not chance, determines our destiny. And this is the guiding principle that we want students this year to use as they navigate this unprecedented time because at this point, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard and we have to do our best. I hope you guys are still hearing me. Just give me a thumbs up if you are.
Loud and clear.
Don't know if Flo kicked me out. Great. Awesome. So as we are focusing on the golden standard this year, the two main objectives that the Mona Law Society will be focusing on is student welfare and student development. And we have so many initiatives and plans under these two broad categories. On the student welfare, we understand that the COVID-19 pandemic has left students in a very difficult situation. And it's been hard. It's been hard. A lot of students have unfortunately not continued for this year and have taken gap years because they just really could not manage it. And as the Mona Law Society, we wanted to ensure that our activities this year is not just for fun. It's not just, let's have a good time, but we wanted to do something meaningful. And, I may catch the surprise of the executive at this time, but I'm proud to say that based on the works of the Mona Law Society, having been elected in July, we have raised over $100,000 to give back to students through scholarships and bursaries. So look forward to that. Look forward to the applications and look forward to what we're going to do, because this executive will be leaving an impact. Under student development, of course, we'll have our seminars, our activities. The vice presidents will speak on the activities we had thus far. But we want to ensure that when you leave university and you leave the Mona Law Society, you don't leave with just a degree. You leave as an individual who's well-rounded and you can participate and give a meaningful contribution to the society. So as Matthew said, our returning officer, the first year elections are coming up and I want to see who is going to be finishing the team for the Mona Law Society executive. And also we'll be having our by-election for our maintenance chairperson, so look out for that. Definitely there has been a lot of student concerns relating to the online modality and how it is that we're adjusting. I'm proud to say that we've begun the conversation with the exec, not with the exec, but rather with the with the dean and the faculty administration, and we're working together for issues that we need to fix. At this time, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a topic that many students may not want to hear, but it's a topic of dues. Second and third year students would be, familiar with the fact that we as Mona Law Society members, we do pay dues. This year we have reduced it because of the COVID-19 pandemic, because we understand that not everybody has it right now. And so the dues is just $1,000 for the academic year. And what do your dues do? It's not just, you paying the executive. It's not that. As we mentioned before, our focus this year is student welfare. And we want to give back to students in a meaningful way. We want to be able to assist students with data plans for students who don't have access to Wi-Fi. We want to be able to buy technology and give back to students. And this is what we want to do. And that is what your dues allows us to do. So I know that the treasurer will be telling you a little bit more about how the dues process will work. But just know that it's not a Ponzi scheme. This is real meaningful impact. And your dues allows us to do so. So once you can, we do encourage you to give back. And your dues also allows you to be a full-fledged member of the Mona Law Society. And also persons who are running on for positions and so forth would definitely have to pay their dues. All right. So finally, what I'll say, because the time is going, we are one law, one family. Una lex, una familiaris, and I am so proud of what we've accomplished so far as a society and what we are about to accomplish. I hope you guys are excited, because I'm excited. Definitely, you see so much things. By the time this year is finished, you're going to wonder what the Mona Law Society has not done. All right, so that's it from me. At this time, I'm going to be handing over to our first vice president, Ms. Gabrielle Morris. Yes, as it relates to dues and options, you'll be getting some more information on that soon. So just look out for it. I was just introducing the idea to you guys so you wouldn't be taken off guard. At this time, as I mentioned, we're going to be introducing our first vice president once more. She's going to be doing the initiatives for the semester under her portfolio. She takes care of all the, what should I call it, student developmental activities and so forth. She'll tell you. So at this time, Gabrielle, you can take it from here.
Okay, good day again, guys. I'm not Gabriella Maurice. I said I wish because
Wow, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was thinking of the senator. Gabrielle Francis, everybody. Gabrielle Francis.
Anyways, I'm flattered to be put in the same category. Good day again, guys. I'll be outlining what we'll be doing, or well, what we have done under the first vice president portfolio. That is the portfolios that I'm supposed to supervise, which are the non-academic portfolios. So first up, we have the CAC, Shadeen Ramsey. I want to congratulate her on a well-delivered event, which was roll call. This event was aimed at welcoming the first year group, and it was very successful. Next up on her profile is Gospel Infusion, which will be November 21. Look out for that, guys. Other initiatives coming up are Open Air and Medlaw from our very CAC. Our welfare chair, Joshua Page. A lot of you might know him. He's a singer. There's a lot in store for him this month. The first thing is the 5 to Life initiative, which kicks off on the first Wednesday in October. It continues throughout the month, and it entails stories of survivors, and he encourages you to be informed and aware of breast cancer, because this is what it surrounds. The month will also feature the Share the Love initiative by Joshua also, where every MLS member will be tasked with showing love in various ways. I look forward to that. And he ends the month with a bang with the first 2 streams of what he calls Welfare Wednesdays. It's a forum, a mental health forum to check and encourage students to stay positive in light of the various challenges that we're facing, especially now. The Mr. and Miss Law team of Akeelia Richards and Shemar Bryan will have their first event, Men in Law, which it will be a Men's Day initiative. That will be in November, by the way. Our sports chair, Shanique Sommerville, her first event will be the FIFA tournament, which will be held on October 22, 2020. So for all the FIFA lovers, please come out and support that. Special commendations to our maintenance chairperson, who is basically involved in every initiative that you heard me just mention. He's involved in getting everything together, planning everything, and executing all the events I just mentioned. We all look forward to you participating, contributing, joining various committees, attending the events, and maybe even running for these positions in the future.
All right. That's it, Gabrielle?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much for that. At this time, we'll be speaking to our second vice president, the academic chairperson, Mr. O'Neill Cornally. And he'll be telling us about the academic initiatives for the semester. O'Neill, over to you.
Thanks, Janelle. Welcome again, everyone. So I'm your second vice president, as I said prior, and I oversee the portfolios of the LEO, the second year rep, the third year rep, and the first year rep, who's yet to be decided. So far, I must congratulate my LEO, who has successfully executed BRIC. What she has in store for you later on in this semester and next is her Leducation initiative and Opinionated with Proof. And also coming up next year, the Battle of the Titans mooting competition. Right. So I'm just trying to keep it as brief as possible. Your third year rep, Kweko Cummins, what he has in store, what has been executed so far, you already have your course representatives and the course group chat, so you guys are kept up to date. And I must say, good job, Kweko, in advocating for students and helping to resolve all the registration issues that we've been having. If there are still any clashes, please let him know so that he can work with the lecturers and find a solution. Also, He'll be partnering with the LEO to execute the reality forum, right? Which will host a series of panelists, and it is scheduled for November, I believe. There's also yet to be a third year social coming up next semester. You'll get more information when it's fast approaching. And there should be a competition. So once the logistics have been worked out, you guys will be the first to know. All right. Your second second year representative. For you guys, she has the MLS Fireside Talks study partnership program that should be coming up by the end of November, early December to prepare you for exams, your academic care packages, and a movie night. So we're not all about work. We have fun stuff in store for you. All right. Now on my end, by next week, the academic hotline should be up. So you guys will be able to send in your queries, your academic concerns. If you need help with assignments, you'll be able to send us via email, WhatsApp, or you can call us, right? And we'll help you. I also have legal writing workshops, which are to be scheduled for next month, starting next month, and I'll be hosting the first one. So look out for that as well. Uh, that's it for now. If there are any other updates, I'll let you guys know using your group chats. That's it on my end.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Anil. So as you can see, guys, we're not just about just talking in the group chat. We are an executive with plans and initiatives to make your life better and to develop your skills and so forth. If I just may add to that, this year we'll be doing so much. We'll be focusing on our international students, ensuring that they feel appreciated. We'll ensure that we focus on our Mona Law Society entrepreneurs. We have so many students here with skills and businesses. And if you guys had taken a look at our orientation guides, we highlighted a few of them, and that's something that we want to continuously do this semester. So we are excited for what this year has to bring. I may just add that under my portfolio as president, I want to start the first Mona Law Honor Society. While we do recognize students via the Dean's List for students who attain more than a 3.6 GPA, what I want to do is to create an honor society to help students to maintain those grades and not only maintain them for themselves, but allow and help other students to get to the honor society as well. Because at the end of the day, we are here for our degree. We are paying a lot of money for this degree. All right. So you can look forward to that. We're still confirming everything with the Faculty of Law Administration. So that's really it for the Mona Law Society meeting part of it. We're going to be handing over to the LEO to start the mooting launch. And I believe at this time, our General Secretary, let me just see if I can address the questions. Okay, for the students speaking about registration, tonight at 6 p.m., your president, that's me, will be hosting a registration session and a first year session overall for students who recently got their acceptance on Zoom. You'll get the link shortly. So make sure you tune into that. I'll address all your concerns there. All right, cool. At this time, I'm going to be handing over to Zandria Roach, our General Secretary. She's going to be doing the closing remarks and also the adjournment of the MLS meeting. Please stay for the mooting launch. It's going to be an amazing event. Shannon has a lot planned for you. And trust me, as a law student, if you're not doing muting, what are you doing? I mean, come on. So please stay, please stay. You won't want to miss it. All right, Zandra.
Hi again, everyone. So in closing, I want to recognize our executive member for the month, who is none other than our president, Miss Janelle Small. She epitomizes what it means to maintain the golden standards. So behind all those cameras, you can just give her one nice round of applause.
I didn't know that.
President,
look at you.
We must also commend our PRO, Miss Angie Manahan, and our and our third year representative, Mr. Kweku. They've been going above and beyond, and they've been doing a marvelous job. So just clap them. So clap, 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 clap.
There you go, guys.
Good job.
I want to thank you all for coming out to our first General Bona Law Society meeting. It was nice having you. The second meeting is on October 15th. It promises to be so much better, more entertaining, more interactive. Thank you all for coming, and please stay for the meeting launch. It will be great. Yeah. So the meeting is adjourned at exactly 2:30. Yeah, 2:30 p.m.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll be handing over to our big bag legal education officer, Miss Shannon Young, and she'll be taking us into the mooting launch.
All right, everybody. See, Mona Law Society, no time, right on time. Welcome, everybody, to the mooting launch for 2020-2021 academic year. I am so excited. We are going to actually be hosted by my deputy LEO, Mr. Stephen Harvey, and so I believe he is all ready and to go. So, Stephen.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good. Wow, my background. Yeah, I forgot I had that changed for something else, but don't don't mind that. Good day, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. That was a great introductory meeting by the MLS there. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Stephen Harvey. I am the Deputy LEO, as Shannon said, and I'll also be serving as the president for the Mooting Club this year. And man, we've been planning a lot. We've put a lot into the preparation for the activities that this club is going to undertake. So before I begin, I'll just do a quick prayer. So I'll ask you all to bow your heads at this time. Our Lord and our Father God, we come before you this day, thanking you for life, thanking you for breath, God, thanking you for food, clothing, shelter, and everything, all these basic things, these basic amenities that we sometimes take for granted. Lord, we thank you. God, I thank you right now that even though we as law students are not able to meet physically due to COVID-19, we still have the technology available to allow us to congregate and to discuss legal matters and to discuss this today, the subject of the Mooting Club. Father, I pray that this meeting will go smoothly. I pray that everything will go as planned. And I pray that you will be with us as we speak about this exciting club and all it has in store. These blessings and mercies I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Okay. So, as I said, I am Stephen Harvey. I will be the Mooting Club president for this year, but and we have so much planned, But before I get into that, I'm just going to introduce the executive members of the Mooting Club and the LEO committee at large. So we have myself, of course, Stephen Harvey. We have Shannon, Miss Shannon Young, your LEO, who will also be, running the club as well with me. She's the chairperson of the Mooting Club, so she'll have quite a bit of say in the club as well. Then we have Akesa Muirhead, who is, I believe,
Her official title is the PRO liaison.
Yes. PRO liaison.
A little long, but yes.
Yes. Our secretary, Stephanie Barnes, and she has trust me, she has been doing quite a bit. Stephanie, there you are. Thank you so much. She's been doing quite a bit for us as well in the planning, and she had a big part to play in fact in our first major activity, but I'll get to that later. And then we have Jamal Gordon as well. So all these people that I've just named, they have put a lot of time into preparing for this very day, and they're going to be instrumental in our preparations and everything that we'll do from this time forward in the Mooting Club. All right, so right now I'm going to show you a few videos. Or wait, no, Shannon.
Yeah.
I think Shannon wants to say
Before we
as
get
well.
into the videos, guys, one person that Stephen did kind of forget though was Miss Sabrina Dennis, or treasurer.
Oh my,
It's okay.
so sorry.
It's alright. So yeah, Sabrina Dennis is our treasurer. So guys, as you realize, as Stephen said, the Mooting executive is also the LEO committee executive. We double in roles. And I am very, very excited for this year. As Stephen said, we've been working really hard. Mooting was probably the hardest thing for us to administrate, to really plan and put together, but it's together and I'm excited about it. I'm excited for today with all our lovely guests, some who are already present and some who will be joining us a little bit later on. Our faculty advisor is Mr. Neto Waite, and it's just going to be so much fun and so much activity this year. I know that you guys will learn a lot. You guys will get some really good training and some really good experience. So thank you guys for being here and join us for the ride as we continue. Back to Stephen.
Indeed, thank you, Shannon. Okay, so at this time, well, we all know that, as Janelle said, we all know that mooting is a very important skill to put, or it develops a very important skill for all law students, and it's something that is certainly, I would say, very essential to develop. You know, even if you don't end up going to big mooting competitions, for instance, the skill of being able to speak before a tribunal, or being able to speak before a judge, which a lot of us as law students are going to go on to do anyways. It's very important to develop that skill and to know how you conduct yourself, how you speak in front of a tribunal, how you conduct yourself when you get questions from judges. But so that's what mooting is basically all about. Essentially a simulated court environment in which you make submissions, you prepare beforehand. So it's essentially a simulated courtroom, basically. And it's exactly, Gabrielle, it's an extremely important skill to develop and an extremely important asset to have. So at this time, I'm going to be showing you all a few videos that I think Shannon found them. Yes, we're going to be showing a few videos that really...
Actually, in terms of, they were actually suggested to us by Miss Clarice Morrison. She's actually a mooting trainer. So guys, remember I said we went through a lot of planning and we had a lot of hands in on this. We really got some good advice, and these two videos that we're about to show are part of that we discovered.
Yes, indeed. So if I'm going to need to share my screen now. So I think I need to be made, or I think the host would have allowed me to be able to share my screen. So
yes, you should be able to.
Okay.
You should be able to.
All right, thank you, Janelle. All right, so I'm going to start sharing now. Okay, so are you all seeing this right now? Is everyone seeing the screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. All right. Just give me a sec. Okay, so here's the first video. I believe just going to full screen, and I'm going to start it right now. And we found these videos very helpful and very useful in just explaining the basics of mooting, what it's about, and yes, you will see.
Volume.
Volume? Were you not hearing?
Yeah, we're not hearing.
Okay, all right.
Never heard a while ago, not yet.
Is that better?
Yeah,
We're
still
not
gone.
hearing Stephen.
Not hearing?
No, I'm not hearing it.
Give me 1 second.
I'm fighting.
Okay, guys. So minor technical difficulties there, and as you note, our faculty advisor in the chat there, encouraging us and telling us about how important meeting is as a skill for law students, future advocates. Not quite sure why the sound has abandoned us.
Still nothing.
I think I heard it a while ago. Did anybody else seem to hear it a while ago?
Mute your mic, Sean.
Sorry, might I just suggest something, Stephen?
Yes.
If you're hearing me. Okay, so stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
So stop sharing.
Has that stopped?
No, it's still there.
Okay.
Okay, great. So you're going to share the screen again, and you're going to see the different options come up as to what it is that you're supposed to share. There's a little dialog box at the bottom that is something like share audio clip or something like that, or something about sharing audio.
Oh, yes.
Like the chat box. Right, check that box and then try and play your video. Let's see if that works.
Okay. Is it sharing again?
Is it sharing again? So let's see now.
Turn to structure.
Great.
Okay.
General rule.
All right, so I'll just restart it.
Good afternoon. I'm Nick Friedman, and in this video, I'm going to be offering you some advice on the basics of oral presentation. I want to offer that advice under 3 key themes. 1, I want to talk about how you should structure your speech. 2, I want to talk about the appropriate way to deal with judges' questions. And finally, I'm going to talk through some comments on tone and style. Let's turn to structure. The general rule is that when you're structuring your speech, you need to begin by setting out what you're going to say. You then need to go on to say it. And finally, you say what you've already said. So step 1 is to draw a map for the judge. So for example, you might say something like, "My lord, I will be addressing question 1 in the moot problem. That is whether the threats of violence made by the police to the suspect constituted a breach of Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. In addressing that question, I'm going to make 2 key submissions. First, I will argue that Article 3 encompasses not only physical torture, but also psychological torture and coercion. Secondly, I will show that the coercion in question in this case meets the minimum threshold of seriousness required for a violation of Article 3, as explained in the case law of the European Court of Human Rights." So that's an example of how you structure a legal issue in the introduction to your argument, just telling the judge where it is that you're going to be going, what he can expect to hear from your speech. In step 2, you then go on to each part of your speech, signposting as you go. Signposting just means that you're telling the judge what point in your overall structure you are now dealing with. What are you going to talk about, so that she knows where on your map you are. So for example, you might say, "My lord, I turn now to the first point on psychological coercion." And you'll then address that point for a little while, and you'll then say something like, "I turn now to my second point on the minimum threshold of seriousness." The more you signpost in general, the better. The third step is that after each point, you want to draw some kind of a conclusion to remind the judge of what you've just shown them. Remind them of the conclusions that you've proven in this particular stage of your argument. Finally, at the end of your speech, you want to conclude by showing what you've proven overall. So you'll say something like, In sum, my lord, we've shown that Article 3 encompasses psychological coercion, and we've shown that the coercion in this case meets the minimum threshold of seriousness set out in the European Convention on Human Rights. For these reasons, we submit that the police have violated Article 3. That's the kind of broad conclusion that you'll draw, showing the judge that you fulfilled the burden of proof that you've set for yourself. You may think this sounds repetitive, and indeed it is. That's precisely the point. It's a well-known and effective arguing technique used in debating and mooting, and indeed in real courts, precisely because it ensures that the judge is always absolutely certain when you are making your argument and why you are making the point that you're making. So that's the brief note on structure. Let's turn now to the question of dealing with judges' interventions. And here I want to address three aspects. I want to talk about the questions themselves, I want to talk about being appropriately deferential, and I want to talk about how to incorporate materials in your speech in responses to judges' questions. Firstly, the biggest mistake that people make in mooting is thinking that they have to conclude their speech as it's set out and finish it no matter what. The most important thing is to answer the judge's questions. It doesn't matter whether you get through your speech as you originally planned it or not. If you can do that, that's wonderful, but that's really a side issue. Imagine that you're in a real court. The judge probably already believes some parts of your argument that you're going to make. It's a waste of time to go over those points. The judge will have a couple of key, difficult questions that she needs the lawyers to help her to answer. Points that aren't clear on the case law, an ambiguous meaning in a statute, or conflicting lines of case authority. The best thing that you can do is to provide the judge with a structure, or a roadmap, or a recipe. To say to the judge, if you want to figure out the answer to this case, here are the steps that you need to follow. And the judges will then go on to quiz you on the finer details of the plan, the parts of the recipe that are difficult to follow, or the parts of the map that look dangerous to them or unclear. Bear in mind that judges are not always trying to catch you out. Sometimes they're throwing you lifelines when they can see you're struggling and are helping you to interpret a line of cases. So don't always view them with hostility. Moreover, you should bear in mind that sometimes judges deliberately pretend to be mean or difficult. Every panel of judges tends to have that one judge who's trying to trip you up, to be aggressive, to interrupt you as often as possible. They're doing that to test a particular set of mooting skills. So your goal is not to let that shake you, to remain calm and show the judge that you've been working on it and researching it for a very long time. The judges will be coming at the problem relatively fresh. So sometimes you may get a question that's completely off the point. In that instance, you want to deal with it politely. You want the judge to think that they've asked a good question. Again, don't be shaken by a seemingly irrelevant point. Just deal with it, contextualize it, and show why it's not relevant to the case at hand. Now let me say something about deference. It's essential that you are always respectful and polite to the judge. If the judge even looks like they're thinking about maybe asking you a question, stop talking and allow the judge to ask the question. You should never speak over a judge, and you should never interrupt a judge. One useful tip is that you can wait until the judge has finished asking their question. Take a short breath and then start to answer the judge's question. It ensures that you never interrupt them, and it also gives you a little bit of extra time to come up with the appropriate response. You should use the judge's title relatively often. Depending on the competition, you'll say something like, my lord or my lady, or if you're in an international court, you may say, your excellency. Don't go overboard, but the more you use that in your arguments, the more it seems like you're being appropriately deferential to the judge. In particular, it's helpful to start responses to questions with a respectful acknowledgement. So a judge will have asked you a question, and you can say, well, my lord, with respect, that case dealt with a slightly different point. Or you can say, well, my lord, it is true that that case dealt with an internal armed conflict between X and Y, and then go on to give the answer. So you're always just peppering your speech with deference. The final point I want to make is about the use of materials. You should prepare a file for the judge of all the materials that you're going to refer them to during the course of your speech. Cases, statutes, academic commentary, etc. Mark the pages with colored tabs so that you can direct the judges easily to the parts you want them to find, and highlight passages that you want them to read with you. You should also have copies of all the materials that you're relying on hand with you in a file at your podium. You can use tabs or post-its or other markers to show clearly what pages you've cited or you're going to quote. It means you'll always be able to access the material easily, and you and the judge will be on the same page. Let me now address some final issues on style. Ultimately, your speech needs to strike a balance between two different extremes. You want to appear confident, but not arrogant. You want to appear respectful, but in control. You want to be calm, but not boring or impassionate. As a general rule, your clarity will be enhanced by speaking slowly and by speaking more loudly than ordinarily you do. Remember to maintain eye contact, not just with one judge, but with all the judges. And remember to use your body language appropriately. Don't lean on the podium, don't cross your arms, use appropriate gestures. You should also vary your tone as often as possible to make sure that you're not lulling the judges to sleep in a monotonous voice. Finally, bear in mind that some mooters speak quite emotively and passionately. Others prefer a calmer, more relaxed style. It's totally up to you. You should do what comes naturally. Whatever you do, don't shout, don't become hysterical or worked up, and don't interrupt and irritate the judge. So that concludes my points on the basics of oral presentation. Once you feel like you've mastered those, you can go on to the next video, which deals with some advanced tips for impressing the judges. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the first video. Stop sharing now. All right. Can everyone hear me still? Just checking.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, so at this time, I've been made aware that our advisor, Dr. Neto Waite, is on the call. So I'll just ask you, Dr. Waite, thank you for being with us. And if you'd like to say anything here about the club or mooting in general, I'll give the floor to you now if you'd like to speak.
Hi, Stephen. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, yourself and Shannon. As for the usefulness of this activity, it can't be overstated. It can have an impact not only on your oral articulation of your thoughts and your ability to think through thoughts before you make the presentation and also on your feet, but it can also impact positively your writing skills as well. When you're writing, imagine for a moment that you're speaking what you are writing. And you normally get a feel, probably one of comfort or discomfort, depending on what you're articulating and how it flows. If while you're writing, it does not flow as easily as if you're articulating it, perhaps you should go back and rewrite what you're writing. So learning how to articulate your thoughts well orally can impact the quality of writing and also the structure of your arguments as well. The video that you just watched a while ago, a lot of the tips there are useful tips, not only for mooting, but they're tips that you can use in any conversation, in your classroom, in your tutorial, in conversations with each other. When you're talking about anything, it doesn't have to be law related. It's all about how to be an effective advocate for whatever point you hold and how to communicate clearly, succinctly, and be respectful of the other side or the other views as they're being shared with you. And it doesn't have to be law related. It's just simple, good etiquette for having good conversations, clear conversations, where you're communicating with each other in a respectful way. So what you will learn in mooting, it's useful as an advocate, it's useful in your class as a student, it's useful at your cocktail parties to sound smart, and it's useful if you're just having a beer and timing. And so engage these skills and the exercises, not just through the prism of mooting, but how can I better myself? How can I improve the art of communicating whatever thoughts I have? I'm happy to be working with you guys to share with you as much as I can in your efforts to improve your advocacy skills. I look forward to working with you. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Waite, for sharing with us, and we certainly look forward to working with you as well. All right, so for the sake of engagement and interaction, I'm going to ask a few questions about the video that we just watched. So anyone can feel free to answer and just say what you remembered from the video. So one of the skills that Mr. Friedman in the video said that we need to develop when mooting is signposting. So can someone tell me what they remember from what he said about signposting in a speech as you go along? Anyone? Any takers? You can just unmute and go ahead.
So I'll take a quick try. Else is going. Someone will remember after me, but good afternoon, everyone. Kimberley Buckeridge. Based on the video I viewed, what I recall is the presenter saying, you say what you're going to say, you say how you're going to say it, then you say what it is that you're saying. He also mentioned that at points between your speech, you maybe ask questions, but it is imperative for you to remain calm, answer the questions as they're asked.
All right, thank you, Kimberly. And I see some responses in the chat as well from Xavier, who said you should tell which point you're at now in a speech, which is correct. And Keren as well said it indicates signposting, that is where in the speech you are, to help the judge keep track of your points. That is also correct. All right, one more question. And Kimberly touched on it a bit, but what did he say about judges when they ask questions? Aside from what Kimberly said about staying calm, what else did Mr. Friedman say about what happens when judges ask questions and how you should treat with that as a mooter? Anyone? Treat with respect. Kimberly says in the chat, treat with respect and humility. That is absolutely true. And do not talk over judges. Absolutely. And one of the words that he used as well was deference. So just as in an actual courtroom, when you're speaking in front of a judge, you always have to be deferential. Never, and that's something he said was never try to make the judge feel like they've asked an irrelevant question, for instance, but deference is a very important part of mooting, deference to the judge. So I'm going to show the other video now, advanced tips on oral presentation. Okay, so I will just share my screen again. Share. All right, hope everyone's seeing that. Okay, here's the second video, advanced tips for oral presentation.
Good afternoon, I'm Nick Friedman, and in this video we're going to take a slightly more advanced approach to oral presentation. What I want to do is give you 7 tips that can turn you from a good mooter into a great mooter. The first tip, as I explained in the basics video, is don't get stuck too rigidly to a fully written out speech. You don't have to go through it from start to finish. Remember that it's not a public speaking competition, it's a moot. The essential point of which is for judges to ask you questions and for you to respond to them well. Ideally, you want to achieve 2 things. 1, you want to answer the judge's questions clearly and in detail. And 2, you're always trying to tell a story, taking the judges on a journey to help them understand how to solve the problem at hand. So when you answer a question, you should always make it clear what part of the story you're now telling. Let the judge's questions help you go through the different parts of your argument. So what I've found to be helpful in the past is, rather than writing out a speech word for word, is to have some kind of overarching structure for your speech. Know how each argument fits together to prove your overall point. But be prepared to shuffle your arguments around. The judge may want an answer right at the start of the moot that gets to a point which you were only prepared to deal with slightly later on. It's essential for you to deal with the point precisely when the judge asks you for it. So you need a speech that can accommodate those kinds of ad hoc changes. I find it helpful to have my speech written instead as something like a mind map, a sort of a series of connected ideas that I can jump from one to the other as required. And at any moment, I can explain to the judge what I've already proven in answer to her questions and what I still have to talk about. You might also think about structuring your argument as a set of self-contained blocks or parts of a speech, which you can shuffle around as necessary. The second tip I want to give you is that it can be very effective to work quotes from cases seamlessly into your speech. It can be a very effective and authoritative mode of convincing the judges. In moots, both sides end up saying, this line of cases says this, or this line of cases says that. And unless a judge is very familiar with the cases in question, the judge doesn't really know how to decide between the 2 different claims which are being made. So it can be a very effective argumentative technique if you say, my lord, we submit that there are 3 requirements for responsible journalism as set out in the case of Harvey versus Sunday Times, and they are, and then you begin to quote from the case. So it gives the judge the impression that you're reading directly from the case and you know exactly what you're talking about. The third tip I want to give you is to say that if you hesitate or if there's a gap in your speaking, that's precisely the moment when a judge is going to pounce on you and ask you questions. So keep up the flow of your speech by using linking words and phrases to create a feeling of continuation between your big arguments. You might say something like, for these reasons we submit that the government has breached Article 2.5 of the treaty, which brings me, my lord, onto my second argument, which is that XYZ. So you're just continually using linking phrases to keep a continuous flow through your speech. The fourth tip is a very important tip, which is that you need to anticipate the kinds of questions you're going to get from judges in advance. Your worst case scenario is having to do statutory interpretation on the spot, or trying to figure out how to get around a case that goes against you without having thought of it before. It's a trap that many mooters fall into. Before the moot, you need to think of every possible question that a judge might ask you and come up with an answer to it in advance. Even questions that are not relevant or may not seem relevant. A judge might ask you to explain how your interpretation of the statute fits in with the rest of the statute. They may ask you whether your argument is good from a policy perspective, whether the court should even lay down this kind of law. They may ask you how your answer would change if the facts were tweaked slightly differently. So ultimately, you need to know more than just your own argument. You need to know about the law around your argument and related to your argument. The fifth point is that you should never tell a judge that their point is irrelevant. Your ideal response to an irrelevant question, which you may well get, should do 2 things. 1, make it seem as though the judge has just asked you the best, most important question of the moot. And secondly, to still show that you have an answer to it, how that answer furthers your case, and that ultimately the point that the judge has made is not devastating to the conclusion you're trying to present. The second last tip is that the single most difficult thing about mooting is that you run out of time to make your argument because of the judge's questions. Many people don't get through all the arguments that they need to make sure that their case is watertight. So you need to bear three things in mind. One, know which points to drop and which point is your moneymaker. If you can make one point before this moot ends, what is it going to be? You need to get a sense of the priority of your arguments. If you don't have enough time to make all the arguments that you wanted to make, what's the one thing that the judge needs to know before you sit down? The second thing to do is to have a 2 or 3 line summary of each point in your argument, and indeed a short summary of your overall argument, so that when the judge says to you, you're out of time, you can say, Your Excellency, for these reasons, this is why we ought to win this case. The third thing to bear in mind is not to panic. No one knows that you haven't completed the speech that you set out, except you. If you end your speech confidently and giving the judge the impression that you've done all you needed to do to fulfill your role, that's the end of it. The fact that you've left out 90% of your speech is unknown to anyone except to you. The final tip that I want to give you is to be responsive to the other team. There's nothing more boring than watching a moot where the two teams speak as though they're in a vacuum. You will have seen the other team's memorials. If you're the respondent, you will have heard their argument already. So you can say things like, the appellants have argued that in the case of Wingrove versus United Kingdom, it was held that freedom of expression may be limited to prevent religious offence to others. However, we respectfully submit, my Lord, that they have neglected a crucial part of the decision in that case, which was that national authorities are to be accorded discretion in determining what constitutes such an offence. So you're continually just taking the arguments that they've made and linking your arguments to them. Just a short sentence saying the point that I'm about to make now directly rebuts what we've just heard from the other side. This shows that you're not mechanically sticking to your speech, regardless of what the other team is doing. It also shows that you're being flexible and thinking on your feet. It gives the judge a continual sense of how your argument is better than theirs and where it is defeating theirs. So those are my tips on how to become a better mooter. And remember, the only way to become better at mooting is to continue to practice it. Thank you.
All right, so that's the second video there. Again, another very useful video that we on the committee thought it would be appropriate to share, you know, talking about the skills to go from a good mooter to a great one. So I'll just ask again two short questions. What did he say about keeping up the flow of your speech, and how do you do that, and why is that important? So anyone can just answer that real quick. Anyone? Okay, yes, I'm seeing some good responses in the chat. Dr. Waite says you can purposely insert the part if you're comfortable enough and want the judge to ask the question. Indeed. You pause. Yes, that's very, you guys are listening. That's very good. That is very good. Okay, and what did he say about, again, dealing with judges' questions? What else did he say about dealing with judges' questions? Dealing with judges' questions. Sorry, the judges. Anyone dealing with questions from the judges? Anything else?
Good afternoon.
Yes, hello.
He basically said that you're not supposed to let the judges feel like they have asked an irrelevant question. So you're supposed to answer the question in the manner that they expect you to and answer respectfully.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Shanice. Okay, so those are the videos, and also guys, just to say, we will be sending you The link for the people that have signed the mooting form and are in the, well, you should also be in the WhatsApp group if you've signed the form, so that's where the form was. We'll be sending you the links to these videos. They're very useful again, so you can rewatch them for yourselves, and also transcript of what was said in the videos, the main points that are typed out. I've typed them out, so we can send those to you as well. You can go those over for yourself, excuse me, for your own benefit. So at this time, so that was our first segment with the videos.
Hold on 1 second. Stephen, Mr. Waite would like to make a comment.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to try and link the first presentation and the second presentation, I'm going to use the importance of the judge's questions and the fluency of your presentation. So in the second presentation, one of the things that Mr. Friedman said is that if you know properly what the points that you want to make, to a degree that you can make them without relying on the paper, and you can respond to the judge's arguments at the same time, you will use up all your time, but not having gone through all of what you would have on your little cue cards, and no one would be any wiser that you did not finish 90% of your prepared speech. But he did say also in the first presentation that responding to the judge's questions count for much more than you being able to get through all of what you had on your cue cards. Because one thing you must remember, what you have on your cue cards pretty much is a summary of the written pleadings that you would have prepared and sent in before the oral rounds of any voting competition. And also in court, you would send in your detailed written pleadings beforehand, and what you say in court is just a summary and also to clarify. So responding to the questions, that's crucial. Now, sometimes you're studying or you're preparing an essay and you're doing your research, and there are certain issues that you have done so much research on that you can cover it cold. You can literally answer any question in your sleep. For those types of areas, if you have that degree of comfort with any of the issues in a particular mood, you can pause the fluency of your presentation. And instead of using the linking word, you artificially cause the pause to give the judge the space to ask your question when you reach to the point that you have complete coverage and comfort with. Because more often than not, when the judges ask you a question, it will be in relation to the point that you are discussing. And if you insert that pause, you get the question, you handle the question well, that's your marks are just going up. Because remember, the guide that he gave you at the first is count a lot. So based on the breadth of your research and your comfort with the material, you can artificially include the pauses to give the judges space to ask you the question. So you don't always have to use these linking words to run away from questions. You can create the space for the questions to come. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Waite, for some more useful tips from you, some extremely useful tips to make us, again, better mooters. We appreciate that as well, sir. Okay, so at this time, now, we told you guys to stay because, this is another exciting part of our meeting. We've invited some guests here today to speak to us, some former seasoned mooters, no attorneys, but some seasoned mooters to give us some more advice and give their experience in mooting and how it will help, and why we should even do mooting in the first place, and tips on how to help us. So first, I'm going to start by showing a video from Miss Khalesia Miller. She couldn't be here today, but she recorded herself giving some tips, and I'm going to show that video now.
And guys, they're not coming just to give tips, but they're also telling their stories. They're telling a lot of their stories. And so we're excited to have you hear what we've already heard in some form.
Yes, indeed. All righty.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Here's the video from Khalesia. The sound isn't as high as the other video, but I believe it's still audible.
Everyone, I would firstly like to thank the Mooting Club for inviting me to their virtual launch, and I apologize for not being able to attend the online session. So I'm going to share with you a few tips and strategies that I have learned, and this is based on my experience from participating in 3 different mooting competitions. My first mooting competition that I was exposed to.
Sorry. My apologies. Yes, there you go.
Was the Price Media Law mooting competition, which I participated in at the Faculty of Law. And then when I attended the Norman Manley Law School, I participated in the Philip C. Jessup International Law Moot Court competition twice. So my biggest tip that I probably will give today is that when you are approaching any sort of mooting competition, you must understand the tribunal that you're appearing before. You must know the basis upon which you appear before the court, and this surrounds the issue of jurisdiction. Even though it's a fictional court, there will be some basis upon which you appear before the court. So for example, in Jamaica, if you're appearing before the Supreme Court, then you would look to your Supreme Court Judicature Act and your Civil Procedure Rules. And if you're appearing before the Parish Court, you would look on your RM Act and your RM Rules. So similarly here, if a judge asks you, you must be able to say that you appear based on whatever statute. It may even be a fictional piece of legislation, but you must know. I think that's the key. I think that one of the biggest hurdles for me when I was trying out for a mooting competition was the style of mooting. I don't think I had any idea of how a mooting competition is actually carried out. How should I prepare for a mooting competition? What sort of advocacy were they looking for? And I think the biggest thing that helped me was actually YouTube. Going to YouTube and looking up different mooting videos. It doesn't matter the type of mooting competition, you just want to get a general idea of how a mooting competition is delivered. So I actually shared with the Mooting Club a video that I found on YouTube, and I hope that they will share it with you, and that will really help you to determine the type of style that you want to present before the judges and how to deliver your arguments. So a few tips I would share is that when you start, you're presenting your submissions, the first thing you want to do before the tribunal is introduce yourself. You want to tell the tribunal your name. You want to tell them if you appear for the appellant, if you appear for the respondent. You want to tell them if you appear on behalf of a country, if you are the first or the second speaker, depending on the layout of the mooting competition. If you are the first speaker, I would implore you to introduce your second speaker, and also to give a summary of what the second speaker is going to say, as well as summary of your submissions. Must tell the tribunal how long you will be speaking for and how much time you're reserving for rebuttals and surrebuttals, if any. I think that once you start on that note, that will help you. And when you are preparing your submissions that you're going to deliver before the tribunal, I would want to say don't stick to a written script. I know it may be hard, but it's just better to know your submissions well and then present them. Of course, you'll have an order in which you would love to present before the tribunal, but the tribunal may have questions. They may interject. submission that you had intended to give later down, you may now have to give it in the middle, or they may actually want to start with that submission. So don't be a slave to any written script that you write. I would just say to know your arguments well, practice your arguments consistently before your friends, your family, before a stranger. Just get comfortable, so on the day you're able to really command the room and really grab the attention of the judges, because they'll be so interested in what you have to say that when they ask you questions, it's not really to lead you astray, it's probably to help you, because they're so interested in your legal arguments that they want to know more. And you should always try to be in a position where you know more than the judges who are before you, so that any question that's asked of you, you're able to answer it. And if you're not able to answer a question, you can respectfully say that you're not able to assist the tribunal. However, you may have another legal argument that may assist the tribunal to get to the answer that they're looking for. So the second tip that I would give is that when you start out with any mooting competition, knowing and understanding the facts well is extremely important. Every fact that is in the mooting problem is there for a reason. It's not there to just take up space on the paper. So what I did when I started doing the Jessup competition is that I would start out by doing a factual analysis table. So I would go through each paragraph of the compromise, and I would have a table that would say dates, important persons, the names of organizations, and I would write down everything. And I also shared a similar table with the mooting club, which they have my permission to share with you guys so that you can see how it's set out. So you really want to just log all the important details. That if they tell you that a country is X big, you write that down. If they say that the population is 5,000 people in one country and another country has only 2,000 people, write that down. There's a reason that they're telling you this information. When you do your factual analysis table, now you're going to read over your facts again with all the important facts in mind, and you're going to start to analyze the information. You're going to begin to compare and contrast and say, okay, well, this happened on that date, and that may be important for a legal argument that you wish to develop later on. I would say that never think that you have read the facts too often. Right up to the Jessup competition, which we spend months preparing for.
All right. And that is the video from Miss Calicia Miller, where we're very grateful to her for taking the time to send us that video, even though she couldn't be here today. But she sent that video, and we are, of course, very grateful. So any comments on that video from anyone? Anything that anyone took? She said some things that were similar to what was said in the videos that we watched, but she also gave her own advice from her own experience in mooting competition. So any comments that anyone has on what she said? Any takeaways?
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. One of the things that stand out the most is just how similar a lot of what she said was to the videos that we presented from Mr. Friedman. And as you guys heard, she did say that she's provided us with certain information and even another video. And we'll definitely be showing you guys those things and using those in other meetings that we have. And like I said in the chat, I hope y'all are listening, because we may or may not have a little something something where you might need to employ some of these tips and skills. But you'll hear about that a little later. So who else had some comments or questions even?
Anyone? Yeah, so Sarah K says in the chat, read your facts frequently. It's never enough. That is true. That was something that Kalisa did emphasize quite a bit. All right, so now next we'll be moving on to our next guest. and that is none other than Miss Haniel Hines. She is a former mooter. She gave us some great advice. She gave some great advice to the mooting committee earlier in the year. She's also from the best school in Jamaica, Campion College. I might be a bit biased, but that's besides the point. Okay, Haniel, you know you have the floor now. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Okay, so you've heard all the tips, all the work that's required. And I am going to start, instead of telling you about tips, I'm going to tell you about the experiences that I had, because mooting isn't just about work. There is a whole lot to experience when you're doing mooting. There's a whole lot that you learn about yourself. There's a whole lot that you learn about other people. So I'm going to just first start with the competitions that I did. I did 4 competitions with 3 different contests. So when I was at Mona Law, of course, I started at the Frankfurt Investment Arbitration Moot in 3rd year in 2016. And then 2 years later, I did the Philip C. Jessup International Moot Competition at Norma Manley Law School. And then the year after that, I went back to Jessup, but I was in final year. So actually, I went back as a coach for a different team, the Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar. And then the 4th competition that I did, which was also as a coach, was the Qatar International Cybersecurity Contest that took place last year in Doha, Qatar. So it's been a lot for me to experience, not just in terms of the work I had to do, but also there was definitely a major psychological component. And that's something that with everybody I've worked with, my teammates, my students, my former students, I should say, it always has a psychological component. So with that being said, I'm going to start with the details of my story. So when I first started mooting, I actually didn't join a moot club or a moot program for any good reason. I honestly was just really curious. I realized I'd never done a real competition before. And I said, you know what? I want to do one competition. Oh, law school have mooting? Well, it looked like I'm going to mooting. So that's what I did. If they had sewing classes, I would have been a designer. When I walked into Frankfurt Investment Arbitration Moot, which, as some of you may know, is about international law and particularly international investment law, I was walking into that competition only because it was a competition, because I did not like international law. If you ask me what was the most useless thing you ever learned at faculty at that time, in 2016, if you asked me that, I would have said it was public international law. I don't understand why I had to do that course. When I left Frankfurt, because of all the work and all the tips where you learn and what that you've seen in the videos, which by the way, they don't tell you that nicely when you start out, it's bare trial by fire. So the coaches literally just throw you in the deep end and say, swim, 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 and you literally learn as you go. But when I left out of that competition, I realized, international law is actually very useful, and I actually really like it a lot. This is really important. And what I like about mooting is that students get to learn the essence of advocacy, the essence of an area of law and how it applies in real life to real life situations without having to worry about judges that they don't like, bosses they don't like, co-workers that they don't like, 1,050 deadlines. All of that noise is muted because you get to focus on this area of law and why it's relevant to you. So then I moved on to Jessup, and in that year, I actually met some people from Qatar. They were actually my opponents in the preliminary rounds. And one of the students came to me afterwards and said, we have to talk. Her name is Almas, and we're now best friends. So that should tell you something about the kind of experiences you get at these international competitions. So out of that, she asked, hey, would you be interested in helping our team out? So I said yes. So the next year I went with Hamad bin Khalifa University as a coach, and I formed very good relationships with the students over there, which was actually very intimidating for me in a way, because everybody was older than me. I was the youngest person on the team, including out of the students, probably the youngest person in that entire, whoever was associated with that school, with that faculty, maybe. Where I formed extremely close relationships with the students. We went through so much together, even though we were thousands of miles away. I was able to form really good relationships with the coaches abroad as well, who had met me as well when I was in Washington, D.C. as a student. And so the next year, we, again, just an amazing experience where I got to meet so many people. What you realize about a lot of these international competitions is that people really do want to make friends. They want to make friends from all over the place. There's a lot to see. And I always tell people, no matter what, make sure that you completely embrace that experience, because I have found amazing friends out of that competition. And when I was in Washington, D.C., they said to me, the professors, that they were hosting a competition in Qatar and they would like me to bring a team from Jamaica. So I said that I really wanted to bring a team from Norman Manley Law School, but of course we had to get Miss Ina's approval first. And so we went, we got a team together. Miss Meridian Kohler also joined me in coaching. And then we went to Qatar and my students won. And they did incredibly well. I was incredibly proud of them. And they also, it's weird because as a student, you're experiencing so many things, the fear, the self-doubt, the anxiety, sometimes the struggles that come with working with different people on a team, trying to avoid working in silos or working as separate entities. And it's so strange that when I became a coach, I saw the exact same thing with students who literally came from two very different places, two very different stages in life. And so whenever you're having a difficult time, when you decide to embark on a MOOC competition or just a MOOC program, because for me, it's not really about going abroad. It's never been about doing one of these big competitions. It's really about the experience of working with people, and getting that opportunity anywhere is so important. And what you're going to realize is that you're not going to be alone when you're experiencing certain things. Anxiety, you don't know what you're going to say, or the judge dumps you on purpose because they like to do that. You're going to think, oh my goodness, I feel so dumb. Don't feel dumb, okay? You are not alone. Many people have been there before you. Three things I wanted to say. No, two things. Number one, as a mutal, thou shalt not show fear. The judges are going to find ways to trip you up. Sometimes they're not trying to do it. Sometimes they are. I literally had a professor come to me after my match and say to me, we were trying to trip you up and it did not work, right? They were asking me questions that were all over the place and I couldn't answer all of them. And I simply had to not show fear and keep it together. And you know what was weird about that? Even though they were shooting all these daggers at me, and some of them got me, okay, they did. When the professor, the judge came out, he said to me, honestly, I've been doing this competition for such a long time. That was the Jessup competition, by the way. He, very elderly man, did it when he was a student, judged so many years, and he said, honestly, that's the best I've ever seen. And it just goes to show that, hey, sometimes, even when you make mistakes or even when you're not able to answer everything, just keep going. Don't get discouraged. And you really have to develop those nerves of steel. I have seen students break down and cry when mooting. Not mine, but I've had teammates, I've had classmates who've done that. So if you do that as well during a training session, don't feel dumb. Trust me, you are not the first or the last to do it. And the second thing I would say is teamwork makes the dream work. Like I said, there's a massive emotional element to competing, which is why I keep saying it's not just about the work. There is so much to experience and learn about life. One of the issues is how to control your ego, how to work with people that you may not have been friends with before, people who you do not like, people who do not like you, people who may want to sabotage your team. It would not be a foreign concept. And you have to learn how to stay focused on the goal without letting those issues get in the way. You don't have to like your teammate, you really don't, but you have to learn how to work together. Also, teamwork is not just about disputes and who you like and who you don't like. It's also about being strategic and looking at goals from a very collective perspective. So if you have 500 pages to read, which I think with this MOOC club, hopefully that will not be be your affliction. But sometimes you might have 500 pages to read. Some may think, oh, this is my submission or this is my argument. So me want I can read the 500 page them. I mean, yeah, maybe, but you know what also works? If there's 5 of you on the team, divide it up into 100 per person, have people summarize it, interrogate it, check over each other's work. If you have 10 cases that you have to read, divide it up among the 5 of you, two, and things go so much faster. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They put themselves through so much unnecessary stress not because they don't want to work with their teammates, but because it's hard to get out of that mentality of working in a silo. So that is my summarized experience, my mooting experience, and the tips that I have as well. There is so much more to tell, but obviously time will not allow all of that to happen. But I will just leave you with this one thing. The moot experience is your experience. It's you and your team and your coaches, and that space is sacred. And do not allow anybody on the outside, naysayers, people who are critical, people who have maybe certain expectations that you may not be able to meet at the competition, ignore all of them. Do not let them define your experiences. Take the opportunity to have fun because there's a lot of fun to be had. And this concludes my submissions. Back to you, Stephen.
All right, thank you so much, Shaniel, for sharing your experience and the benefits of mooting. We're very appreciative of it. But before you go, I'll just ask if anyone has any questions for Miss Hines. You can just ask
Bring
them.
up have them.
Yes.
Anything.
Anyone.
Okay, I have my question. Hi, Haniel. We know that in mooting competitions, you don't always win. And sometimes it can be so frustrating. Could you tell us all a little bit about a crushing blow that you kind of had to deal with and how you came back and still continued mooting even after that?
Yes, I definitely did want to talk about that. I didn't know if time would allow me. Thank you so much for asking, Shannon. So I think the crushing blow that I experienced was in 2018 when we went to the dress up competition. Now, the year before, 2017, they actually made it all the way to the finals. And that team included Calicia Miller, the same woman that you saw in the video before. I don't know why she didn't mention it, but her team went all the way to finals. By the way, she's also the 5th best speaker in the world for that year, 2017. And she was also best speaker at Price Regional when she competed. Anyway, so that was very hard for us because there was a lot of pressure to perform coming right after Calicia's team. And it wasn't that we didn't work very hard, because we really did, because it really pushed it. I mean, for us, that was really how I would say our gas, right? Or car gas or petrol. Unfortunately, when we went to Jesso, we didn't make it to the finals. We did make it to the advanced rounds, and we won awards for being the best speakers, best speaker prizes that they give out. But we got knocked out at advanced rounds, and that was absolutely devastating because we worked so hard. People were shocked. People abroad were very surprised. They were expecting us to go all the way because of the performances that they saw. Even after the match I lost, this professor from the other team, from Brazil, he was there to support the other team from Brazil. He was Brazilian as well. He came to me and he said, "You are so perfect. If I could be an advocate, I would be you." So, it's so difficult hearing that. And for me, it was very hard hearing that after almost every single match that after every single match that I did. But then feeling like, well, if you guys, if these strangers think so, how did this happen? How did this happen? They thought so about our performance, about my performance. How did this happen? And that's just mooting sometimes, which is probably something I should have warned you guys about as well. Mooting is inherently unpredictable. And that was something that I always struggled with, even while training. And it gave me a lot of anxiety because people want you to win, except that you literally cannot guarantee that. You have no way of guaranteeing that. And I hear this so much from different teams at different competitions where you get results, they don't make sense, they don't understand why they lost. People are upset because they don't understand why that team lost. I think I've seen and heard of that maybe at every competition I've done, but it's really because there are things that while all good mooters would do it, it's a competition. So it's not just about who's a good mooter, it's about who's the best mooter. And judges have different ideas of that. So that was very hard for me to deal with, especially because I had to also deal with the fact that we did extremely well. We had these awards. I had my award for best speaker, but not best speaker, top 25 best speaker. And it's like, okay, on the one hand, this is really amazing. And this is global. This is completely blowing my mind. But then on the other hand, you wanted more. So you kind of struggle with feeling a little bit ungrateful with that. But you know what I did, it was super tough, but I just said, you know what, I am going to make the best of this experience. I'm not going to let this loss get me down. I'm going to go, I'm going to make friends. I'm going to tour all over Washington. And for me, unfortunately, I didn't find the strength to moot again because that was my final year as a law student. So I didn't, and that was also hard because it wasn't like I could go back and even try to avenge what happened the year before. I thought that would be the end of it, really, until my friend from Qatar called and said, hey, do you want to coach? And then my other friends from Qatar said, hey, do you want to bring a team here? I thought that was where everything would end, but everything just went in a completely different direction from what I expected. I don't think anybody expected to get to end up in Qatar by going to Washington, D.C. So it's something that I'm always very grateful to God for, because he does know how important mooting is to me. He does know how important student development is to me. But that's also why I say to you guys, do not let the outsiders define your experiences, okay? They didn't see how hard you worked. They didn't see how you performed. Because we have to deal with that too, right? People are proud of us, but then some people who truthfully were more than a little bit jealous, also had very negative things to say. And honestly, at that point, there's not much you can do about it because it's not their competition. It's not their opportunity. They wish they had it. They didn't. Too bad. Don't let them affect your experience. Don't let them define your experience for you. So win, lose, draw, never let the outsiders define your experiences for you. Take the opportunity and enjoy everything that's available to you, because I can say even with that crushing loss, 2018 Jessup was some of the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. I had an amazing time. So I think that's my answer.
All right, thank you again for that, Taniel. Very appreciative. Are there any more questions? Anyone? No. Okay. I have a question. Taniel, do you have any like funny mooting experience, like humorous stories at all that you like to do?
I have a lot. Okay, I think one really funny experience was when I was coaching. A lot of people thought I was a student, and so people kept looking at the entire team and saying, "Which one of you is the coach?" And then when they say it's Haniel, they will completely jump back and they'd be like, "Oh, I was expecting somebody older." One of the students at Normandy Law School said I looked like I was 12 years old. When I met the students from Qatar in person for the first time, they'd always see me like this, but I guess they never see the full body of me, and they were just looking at me like, wait, how old are you again? You look so skinny. You look so tiny. Why your voice so high? It sound deeper when he was doing the video calling. The other stories I have may not be necessarily funny, but they were just really fun. So at Jessup, the students from all over the world, they love to dance together. They love to do conga lines. And so I had an amazing time there. The time when I went in 2019, they had the students doing a parade. And the year before, we were all nice and decent and just waved. But the next year, the students brought stuffed mascots of animals. They were throwing candy in the audience. They're really extremely adorable.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again, Halil, for all that you've shared with us today. We're really appreciative of it, of you coming and sharing with us. And if it's possible, in the future, we'd love to collaborate again. We're very appreciative. And I hope that everyone has been encouraged and appreciates mooting even more so than they did before. Okay, so our next guest is another experienced mooter who is here, and I'll just introduce him now, Mr. Jovan Bowes. So, Mr. Bowes, if you'd like to come on now, you have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. All right, so there's so much I can say, but I must acknowledge that my good friend Haniel has really covered a great extent of the things I would have said. However, as good mooters do, we improvise and we find substance nonetheless. I must say though, I do endorse everything wholeheartedly that Haniel has said, as well as, is it Mr. Dr. Waite, I believe, the overseer. Of course, you guys are not short of excellent guidance, and I must say I'm privileged to even be in this position to assist what little way I can. So it's just so I can bring things you've heard so far to light, I'll start by signposting. What I will address in my few minutes are, one, I'll actually just adopt some of the questions which were asked initially. So one would have been my disappointment that I would have faced in my mooting journey. Two, the experience that I've had over the years. And three, just what it is that mooting can do for you and why I think mooting is a beneficial activity. Now, I'd like to start with my disappointment first, because unlike many mooters, my biggest disappointment came before I even became a mooter. I had actually, in fact, tried out for a mooting team and I was unsuccessful. But I love to tell this story because not only was I unsuccessful, but I was the only person out of all the people who tried out on that day who was unsuccessful. So of course, that is really going to have an effect on you. At the end of the day, I must admit I tried out because I thought I was good enough.
All right. Seems like we may have unfortunately lost Jovan for the time being. At least, hopefully he's able to reconnect. But yeah, because I really wanted to hear what he had to say.
Okay,
Jovan, are you back?
I think I'm back.
Okay, wonderful.
Right. So I was saying, what is it that I had not done properly? And I just started to reevaluate. And the first thing I did was to speak to one of the judges of that particular trial. And I was encouraged to know that it wasn't a case that I wasn't good enough, but it was simply that on the day I never exhibited the qualities that they were looking for. So they saw the potential, but they really couldn't have chosen me based on potential alone. So what that said to me is that I needed to find out how to actualize that potential and to turn it into actual output. And long story short is I did the necessary adjustments that they told me about. And I mean, I only participated in 2 competitions, unlike Kalisa and Daniel, who have a bit more under their belt. But I'm able to say that I've been a part of the successful team at an international mooting competition. My team won the CCJ competition on behalf of the Norman Manley Law School, and I was eventually voted the top, I don't even remember which number it is right now, but in the top 20 or 20 something advocates at the Jessup competition, which is filled with over thousands of advocates in the world. So, the reality is it doesn't really matter where you start in this journey, but if you decide that, you're going to do what it takes, then success is attainable for everybody. As it relates to my experience now, which is my second point, as I mentioned in brief a while ago, I participated in 2 moots, the CCJ International Mooting Competition, both at Norman Manley. The first one, I did CCJ in first year, and then I did Jessup in second year. CCJ was, in my opinion, a very good introductory moot. The format was a little different from Jessup. You did 1 match, and the judges determine who is the winner based on who they think won all of the matches, and then they determine who was the best winner out of all the winners. Now, interestingly enough, my team, we never thought we were going to win at all. We literally just said, you know what, we're going to do the best we can do. We have 1 match. We literally don't know how to make it, work. We've never heard of a winning team. We know that Norman Manley had won before, but we never knew any of the persons personally who had participated when they won. And, we really never thought it was an attainable goal at the time. However, what that experience taught me was just how important it is to have a rapport with the tribunal. So I remember, I love this part of the story as well. I remember I was in the middle of my presentation, and due to some information that my researcher had given me, I was making a very strong point. I was saying, judges, not one of the constitutions in the Caribbean refer to a particular right. And bear in mind that these are actual judges of the CCJ, so they're well versed on Caribbean integration law. One of the judges said to me, "Counsel, are you sure?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor, not one." And he said, "Well, Suriname's constitution has it, and Haiti's constitution has it." So I paused and I said, I said, in any event, Your Honors, 13 of the 15 countries in the Caribbean don't have it in their constitution. And the entire panel started to laugh. And it wasn't even like they were laughing at me. It was that they were saying, "Good save, bro." Like, they're like, "Yo, you did really well. You held your composure." And my point was still valid because I was trying to make a point that there was a majority. Now, if I have 13 or 15, I can still get away with the point. So, and I just laughed and we just continued. And even after that, this other point in time, a judge literally said to me, "Counsel, I'm going to ask you a question." This time he's sitting back in his chair now, well comfortable. He's like, "Counsel, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't even expect you to have the answer to this, but just tell me what you think." And he asked me a question off the bat. Now, what that showed me is when you develop that rapport with the tribunal, you already put yourself in a position to excel, even without any particular benefit that you are bringing to the table. It's just the fact that you were able to tell the judges that, "Hey, I understand that you are a human being just like I am." One of the important things the judges said to me after the competition was that what we appreciated particularly about you was that, 1, you were able to smile in the middle of your presentation, and 2, you were able to talk to us as though we're human beings. The reality is most judges of mooting competitions have mooted themselves. And even in the real world, when you step into a courtroom, the fact is every judge was once a lawyer. Now, what that means is they understand what it means to be in your position. And, you know, they know that at the end of the day, we're all just human beings trying to do our various roles. As an applicant, you're making your point, as a respondent, you're rebutting, and as a judge, you have to decide. When persons approach the tribunal as though they're some mystical creatures in a faraway land, and it's not even like you're talking to a person in front of you, you lose the effect of your presentation. And I mean, at the end of the day, you're not just going to charm your way through, you have to have substance and good structure as well. But the fact is, you know, a good combination of all of those things is necessary. As it relates to my Jessup experience, you know, Jessup was very, very interesting. I think it was certainly a step up from CCJ. You know, you're not competing with 9 other schools anymore, and you're not just playing one match. You're competing with hundreds of individuals, and you're playing several matches. You're not in the Little Caribbean anymore. You're in United States, Washington, D.C., and you just feel a sense of pressure with the environment on a whole. The style of mooting at Jessup is also very different. So you know you have to learn to make those adjustments. And long story short is my Jessup experience was amazing. I met friends just as Daniel did, and I never got to coach any teams, but I do have friends which I'm in contact with even to this day from all over the world, from Africa, Asia, Europe. As it relates to the mooting, I will forever be grateful for the experience I had doing the Jessup competition. I think I'm a better communicator for it now. When I go to court for work, I'm not nervous to speak in front of any judges. You know, all of those experiences really put me in a place which I think is extremely beneficial. Which I think brings me to my third point, which is why mooting is important. Now, as I will always say anytime I'm asked to speak about mooting, I think that mooting is the single most important activity that any law student can undertake. I think the skills that you require to be an excellent advocate, and not just advocate, but an excellent attorney, are skills that you develop in mooting. And as Dr. Waite mentioned, the skills are transferable even outside of the arena of law. You know, general communication, confidence, the ability to effectively bring across a point, the ability to know when to concede a certain point. Those are things which, honestly, in my 5 years of legal education and my 1 year of practice so far, mooting has taught me more than anything else has to this point. And not just, as I said, it's a holistic approach. So when you do the research for a moot, it's funny, you probably spend 9 months doing research and you're talking for 10 minutes, you know? But you do those 9 months of research because just as my CCJ experience taught me, a judge can ask you anything about anything, and you need to be ready for literally anything. Or in the event that you're not ready, you need to confidently say, Your Excellency, I'm unfortunately unable to assist the court with that answer. However, and you can give them something else that is beneficial. So the research skills was developed because of mooting. Obviously, the advocacy and the oral abilities, that is developed because of mooting. As I said, when I step into a courtroom right now, I may be unprepared sometimes, I may be not confident in my arguments sometimes, but the reality is I am never nervous. Doesn't matter if I'm in the criminal court representing a murder accused, or if I'm in the civil courts trying to stop my client from losing millions of dollars or their house or anything. It doesn't matter because I have had enough experience talking to old white guys in America and young guys in Trinidad, just judges from all over for various capacities, that when I step in front of a tribunal, no, it's just another tribunal. Accordingly, and other skills beyond the arena of law, like time management, when you do mooting, and because the study of law is not a simple thing, and the exercise of mooting is also not a simple thing. So when you taking on an additional burden on top of what is already a difficult endeavor, you literally have no choice but to develop good time management. You have no choice but to learn how to multitask. You have no choice but to learn to handle pressure. And in the real world, I've learned that pressure literally comes at you every single day. You know, I when my desk is empty, it's a very rare occasion. And the reality is, I think, I mean, I'm just 1 year in so far, but I think I've been able to manage so far because of my mooting experience. Because I personally was never really an organized guy. I had to rise to the occasion when I was mooting, and luckily it has stuck. And I think I'm better off for it now. Now, just some general pointers as I conclude my segment. The reality is not everybody will do mooting. That's the first thing. But even amongst us who do decide to do it, not everybody will win a competition, or not everybody will get selected for every team. But one thing my journey has taught me is that, one thing I forgot to mention. After not making that team initially, my pride told me to not participate in the mooting course at faculty, because I genuinely thought that that was beneath me. However, I put that pride aside and I did what I had to do. And I was committed to development. I was committed to growth and advancement. And I learned from that experience that no matter what obstacles might be in your way, your pride, your lack of confidence, you hurt from whatever reason, you can get a benefit in mooting. So I even tell people, even if you don't ever want to step foot into a courtroom, still do mooting, and I promise you, you'll be better off for it. I have to commend Miss Young and her team for the initiatives that you guys have undertaken with this club, because back in my time, which was not so long ago, people never know about mooting at all. It literally was your friend tell you, or you buck up in a one audition one day by accident, or you say, hey, what are you doing? And you hear about this mooting thing. It's not a thing that was widely discussed. And I know that many persons can benefit from this activity. So I have to commend you guys. As I said, I'm trying to not repeat many of the things that Hanel and Kalisa and others would have said. So if that's about it, I think I can wrap it up here. I will also adopt, the words of my friend who indicated that if you guys ever need any assistance, whether coaching or judging or anything at all, do not hesitate to call me, and I'm always willing to offer my advice. So thank you very much once again, and that's the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bowes. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come and speak to us here today. And we also look forward to any future endeavors, any future collaboration between you and the faculty and the mooting club. We're very appreciative of the time that you took out today. So one thing you did say, or does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bowes? Anyone?
Well, I see a question in the chat.
Yes.
So the question, for the benefit of everyone, is: do I think there's a type of speaker that is ideal for mooting? My answer to that question is yes and no. I'll start with explaining no, because the reality is, once you can open your mouth and you can utter words, you can moot, right? So, what you bring to the table initially is irrelevant. Literally, once you are able to speak, you can moot. But the reason I will say yes is because mooting in and of itself requires a certain type of speech, which, you won't even realize that you were lacking before. So for example, one of the criticisms I got when I never made that team initially was I was doing things with my face and with my mouth whilst presenting. No, I've been living 20 odd years, and that had never once occurred to me, I also spoke way too fast. As a matter of fact, I always joke and tell people that when I am in mooting mode, I literally feel like I am counting my words because my natural inclination is to speak very fast. But when I'm mooting, literally, let me tell you guys how I think I sound when I'm mooting. Your Excellencies, I am going to make 2 points at this time. Like that's how slow I feel. But the reality is you learn the various styles, you learn the various ways to um, fix any problems which you may have or to develop any strengths which you may have. Because as much as I had those weaknesses, I was also told that I'm generally a very charismatic person. So once I was able to build on that, I had a good base upon which I could move. So the bridge between the no part of my answer and the yes part of my answer is that with coaching and experience, you will learn the various changes and developments that you need to make to bring yourself from being an okay speaker to an ideal mooter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowes. So at this point, um, because our next speaker is a little bit strapped for time, I mean, Mr. Bowes and Hamil, you guys would like to stay around till a little after a couple of these two last speakers. We probably have more questions a little bit closer to the end, but right now we are going to welcome Mr. Scott Mullings to speak with us. Mr. Mullings, you can go
Yes,
ahead
hello,
now.
you hearing me?
Yes, we are hearing you now.
All right, very well. So yes, as explained, I'm a little strapped for time, but I am privileged to be given the opportunity to give a few remarks on what I believe is an extraordinary step on behalf of the student body at the Faculty of Law, because it shows that you guys are taking initiative to develop your own education and to meet your own needs, which is the sort of thing that links perfectly with the nature of mooting itself. Because mooting, in my experience, you either excel or fail at it based on your own efforts, not so much based on the guidance you receive from your coaches, but it's principally based on your own efforts. In the competitions I've been in, I've seen that as a pattern. When I've done really well, it's because I've entered the competition with a mission in mind, a particular goal, and I'm going to achieve it regardless of the circumstances. And so I put in my own effort, I put in my own energies into the project, and it's not necessarily contingent on the guidance I've received. And so I study a lot. I do my own research. I do my own thinking. I do my own practicing. I take guidance, yes, but it's principally my own effort in conjunction with those of my colleagues. And in the competitions where I've entered in, largely by accident, they've not fared that well. Some would argue that I still did fairly well, but nothing that would, in my mind, fully express what mooting should do for you as an individual. So from my lessons from mooting, crucial point would be that if you're going down this route of a mooting club and all the mooting activities, you need to take very seriously the idea that it is your responsibility to do well at it, to develop the skills, to learn as much as you can, and that you can't rely heavily on others giving you guidance and advice, although that is extremely helpful. And I'll explain further why I think, to the extent that it's helpful, how it becomes helpful. But you have to appreciate that you have to take the lead in mooting. You have to do your own research, you have to do your own thinking, you have to do your own planning, and you have to formulate your own mooting philosophy, if you will. And I'll give you some illustrations to demonstrate this point. Some mooting coaches, and I'm working off of what was the last question asked of Jovan. Some mooting coaches have a certain conception of what it means to be an excellent mooter or an excellent speaker, an ideal mooter. That may or may not coincide with how judges at different competitions will see the ideal mooter or the ideal speaker. And if you spend too much time trying to meet a particular mold of what it is to be an ideal speaker. You lose what mooting is about, you lose the fun of it, and it will become simply a drain on your energy and probably won't be helpful for you in the future. So working off the idea of the ideal speaker, I'd say the ideal speaker for mooting is simply a clear and a persuasive speaker. That's it. Anything else beyond that is something that will vary based on who you're speaking to. And so I wouldn't put any other qualifications upon that. Simply a clear and persuasive speaker. Some persons speak really fast, yes, but somehow they are understood by their audience. Some persons speak very slow and become boring. It's really just about being a clear and persuasive speaker and finding your own style that works for the particular panel that you're appearing before. And that therefore requires a certain level of flexibility. But you won't get that flexibility if you're tied to a particular mold or vision of what an ideal mooter is. If you spend your time, however, developing your skill set, working with what you have, and just doing the best that you can with the skills that you have, you'll find that you'll be far more flexible to meet the different ideas persons may have of an ideal speaker than if you focus on a particular idea or ideal or mold. And so that requires you to disattach yourself, if you will, from certain ideas, certain prescriptions regarding mooting. So that you have to be focused on developing your own style and being very independent. In the most successful competitions I've been in, it's because we had fairly little guidance from the coach, fairly little. We just simply had to be practicing constantly, reading everything, not taking anything for granted, studying in depthly to the point where we understood every issue as thoroughly as, say, a person who is doing a thesis on the subject. And that's what we did to become prepared. And in each competition, we'd practice and fine-tune our technique so as to suit the particular judges that we have to face. But I don't think that working with a particular mold or vision of what it is to be an excellent mooter is going to get you very far. Another example, for a long time when I was doing mooting, a lot of individuals had concerns with my hand movements. I'm a guy that gesticulates a lot. However, when I went to Jessup and I was just focused on doing the best that I can with the work and actually just trying to be clear and persuasive with the panel that I had, I forgot all the rules and requirements that my coaches gave me about not using my hands. And I was gesticulating all over the place. But we still won. And the judges didn't seem fazed by it at all. So that's just another example of being careful as you go down this route of developing a mooting club and engaging in mooting activities, of following every single piece of advice that you get regarding what is good mooting and what is required of mooting. You should take the advice seriously, because at least for that judge or that advisor or that coach, it matters. And so if you're appearing before them, modulate your behavior accordingly. But don't tie yourself into the belief that whatever they say applies in all circumstances. Mooting will reveal to you that different panels will have extremely different requirements when it comes to what is an excellent moot and what's a persuasive case. Some judges, all they want to hear is a lot of authorities. Some judges want to hear a lot of argumentation, a lot of logic. Some judges want you to engage with them in exploring hypotheticals. Some judges just want you to regurgitate the facts as accurately as possible. If you get tied into a certain mold and a certain type of mooting, you won't be effective with the vast majority of tribunals and courts that you'll face. And especially when you enter practice, you'll find that different judges will have different expectations, and flexibility will probably be your most malleable asset. So I'd advise then, going down this route, take the advice, listen to what folks have to say, including what I have to say. But if you're going to take anything I have to say, take seriously the idea that independent work, flexibility, recognition that there isn't a set mold for what it means to be an excellent mooter, and that you may develop a different style that will make you a clear and persuasive speaker. And if you have that as at the forefront, you should be fine. Another thing I want to point out is that mooting, if you're not doing it for the right reasons and you're not doing it to grow and develop and also to have fun, it can be an extremely stressful endeavor, which may not work out to your benefit in the long run. Mooting is extremely beneficial, but you have to approach it in the right way. There are people who have left mooting not appreciating the great benefits that it can offer because they approached it in the wrong way. They approached it simply because they thought it would be a good resume filler, or because they thought it would give them a certain type of opportunity. But if you approach it with an understanding that mooting can be an extremely beneficial learning experience, whether you win or lose, that it can be extremely fun, and you are genuinely interested in doing the work that's required, mooting can be one of the most beneficial activities that you go through. But if you approach it from the wrong perspective of a resume filler, in my judgment, and you don't really see the extraordinary benefits that can flow from just the mere activity itself, rather than kind of commercial benefit, if you will, you'll not really enjoy it, and it can be extremely stressful, especially a competition that will last for an entire year where you have to be researching for months in advance of the competition. That can strain you a lot, especially when you have a number of other activities. It's only when you genuinely enjoy the activity, you are really invested in learning as much as you can and enjoying the process of learning. Only then I think you'll reach the highest heights of mooting, even if you don't win, because there's a great pleasure that comes from appearing before a tribunal that is prepared to engage with you on some of the most interesting issues in a moot, and you're engaging in a thoroughgoing conversation with them. They see that you understand, you see that they understand and are following what you're saying, and you're able to engage in a very beautiful conversation about the law. That's something that is riveting, and it throws away all the nerves. You don't, because you're at that moment you're just having a conversation. But if you approach it from the perspective of simply being one of those exercises that folks tell you that you should do, that probably look good on your resume, when you go through the stresses of mooting, you probably will give up. Yeah, if you don't have a lot of grit. So I'd strongly recommend approaching it from the right perspective of understanding that it gives enormous benefits to you, whether you win or lose in a particular competition or some activity, or whether or not it looks good on a resume. Even if you don't choose to become an advocate, the activity can be extremely beneficial. And I would advise folks, unless you are doing this, say, because it's an academic requirement, don't pursue it unless you truly see from now how beneficial it can be for you, whether you win or lose, or whether or not you do well in a particular activity at a given point in time. It's only through consistently doing it for a number of years do you sometimes get to taste anything like victory, or to see all of the accolades that come from it. And it's only by choosing each day to do it will you ever reach that place. And you won't, I seriously doubt anybody will put in the effort if they can't recognize from now how extremely beneficial it is just to go through one mooting activity, even if it's not connected as in your mind with, say, getting a job or impressing folks. Yes. So I would strongly recommend approaching it from the perspective that it can be a very fun, beneficial learning activity that can develop you as an individual, that gives you autonomy over your own learning. This is something that you run yourself effectively. Yes. And so it's something that's going to help you be a far more effective attorney as you go into practice, knowing that you've gone through the activities of learning on your own, doing your own research, developing your own arguments, and nobody's instructing you as to how to do it. And you've appeared before eminent tribunals and have mastered your craft of advocacy, clear and persuasive speaking, using your own style and not necessarily somebody else's. Being independent, being able to pick up that sometimes the advice you receive from past mooters or coaches is wrong, and that's fine. Sometimes when you're going to practice your seniors in a law office, it's going to be wrong, and you need to be able to know that. Mooting gives you the opportunity to learn these things, but if you don't approach it the right way, it can be one of the most stressful activities you'll take on, and will drain you if you don't approach it properly. If you just see it linked to some career objective, I seriously don't see how it will turn out to be extremely beneficial for you, especially if you're not immediately successful right away in a particular mooting activity. The third thing I'll say about mooting is that Mooting is the sort of thing that it helps to remind you how important it is that you work with somebody else, how important it is that you're part of a team, how important it is that you on your own probably will not be able to achieve much, especially in the practice of law. Every mooting activity I'm aware of involves you being linked in some way with a team. And the most established competitions involve that. The research can't be done on your own. The writing can't be done on your own. There are varying skills that would be involved in mooting that you will not be able to master on your own. Mooting helps to bring home to you something that maybe exams won't bring home to you clearly enough. Well, for some of you who work with others to prepare exams, you know this. Teamwork is essential for this thing, including the practice of law. And that's what mooting, I think, helps to bring home very clearly. I have developed some lifelong friendships from mooting activities along with other things like debating, because spending so much time with somebody else, studying a matter with somebody else, seeing somebody else's common interest in a matter, it's something that I'd say I probably would regret living if I never had that ability to go through learning, developing as an individual tied to somebody else who's also on that journey and is able to help me develop as well. That's something I think you should also keep in mind. So if you're not prepared to be an effective team player, I'd caution you against mooting. I think mooting is something designed for folks who understand the seriousness of the work and therefore the necessity of teamwork. And especially if you're going to be creating and establishing and running a mooting club, you need to understand how essential it is working closely with others and how dangerous it is to be wedded, for example, to all notions of hierarchy. Sometimes, in organizations, we get wedded to the idea of somebody being senior and somebody being junior. I think that mooting in particular is most effective when the partners to the project, the team, understands that they're fundamentally equal, even if somebody is first speaker or second speaker, is classified as senior, the other person is classified as junior. Because you realize that if you don't critique your partner, and your partner doesn't critique you, and if you don't learn your partner's arguments, you presume your partner will know his or her own, you put yourself in the situation where you're at a disadvantage. I've been in competitions where it's because I've taken the time to study my partner's arguments, something in time when you do a lot of mooting, you'll see how important it is. We've won matches because I took the time to study my partner's arguments, so that when she made some arguments and the judges didn't seem to get what she was saying or missed a point, because I was able to study her arguments, I was able to, when I got the chance to get up, to correct some things, or not necessarily to correct her arguments, but to correct the misperception that the judges may have, or to clear the air, or to answer a question that they would prefer to direct to her but didn't get the chance to. For example, in a match I went up and the time had run out on my partner at the time, which was Kalissa, just up. And the first question they asked me was something related to her submissions. If I didn't study her submissions or have some basic understanding of it, I'd be lost. And I think I don't know if some of you must have been involved in the monologue debate, where there was some critique about passing on questions to say that somebody else will handle it when it's directed at you. That's something that happens often in mooting competitions because they want to see how well you work as a team, right? And how well there's synergy with your partner. And it's because I took the time, and also my partner took the time to learn my own arguments, that we became a far more effective team. And I've seen teams who didn't take seriously my advice to study their partner's arguments, who got up in the quagmire of judges asking questions about their partner's submissions, and they're lost. They're like, no, those are my partner's submissions, not mine. I don't know anything about it. So they're lost. Those are just small examples in relation to specific mooting competitions, but it makes a larger point about mooting being a team-based activity primarily, and how effective it is because it's linked with the notion of teamwork and an organization based on equal accountability. I remember in competitions after each match, even though I was the person arguing, the those who sat watching the match would critique our performance and tell us where we went wrong. And that was extremely effective in helping us to streamline what we were supposed to be doing. And everybody understood that you're accountable to the entire team for what you did. You just it wasn't because they were sitting down watching and you were up there arguing, so you feel entitled to say, well, you don't have the right to critique what I did. No, you have to subject yourself to the criticism of the entire team. Those are the sort of things that mooting will encourage in you, the understanding that, one, you need to be a part of a team to be really effective at this thing, and you need to be accountable. Equal accountability needs to be a cardinal principle. Nobody is above criticism in work. So I don't have a lot of time, so I'll just leave it at that to say it's extremely important for you to recognize the importance of independence in this, to do your own work, do your own research, take advice, but don't be wedded to it. You need to approach it properly to understand that this is something that can be really enjoyable and really beneficial if you understand its true importance and you're not just thinking about it in terms of particular career objectives. Otherwise, it may be extremely stressful. Yes. And then finally, you need to appreciate that it's a team-based activity. It's not just you alone. Yes, you need to do your own work, but it's based on the principle of equal accountability with your partners. So that's it. I have a few minutes left if anybody has questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mullings. While persons may have questions, actually gonna allow you to go. We understand, we know that you made a bit of a sacrifice coming to join us today, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you very, very much.
All right, very well.
All right. So that was Mr. Mullings giving us some very practical tips on how to be successful in this whole mooting thing, and how to approach it, and just being very, very real with us. So we thank you, Mr. Mullings. This time we will introduce, I'm going to introduce our final guest for this afternoon. Some of you definitely would know who he is, Mr. Matthew Royal. He's a tutor on the Faculty of Law, also a former law student at MUTA. Mr. Royal, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just confirming that you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can. Well, I can. But...
Wonderful. I'd like to start by endorsing all that I heard Scott say. He's a former teammate of mine. I struggle to recall the word former because I still feel as though we're somehow still in league together. And I'll get into those reasons later on. But I'd like to start by endorsing all of what Scott said. I have a particular approach in my comments. I'd first like to tell you the realities of being involved in a moot, and then share a conclusion from all of that, which might seem ironic. Mooting is difficult. Mooting is extremely difficult. It is absolutely time consuming. You have to balance, and I use that word with great strain, balance your regular school workload. Some people may have other obligations, whether it be work or extracurricular activities with your moot. So it is a very difficult enterprise from a time management perspective. It is difficult from a content perspective. You are asked to achieve near mastery in an area of law that you are otherwise absolutely unfamiliar with. That is the undertaking that you commit yourself to when you join a moot. Become an expert in an area where you will have no teachers, no guidance, no instructors or course notes or course material. You will have to develop your own frame of understanding of this area all by yourself. So it's difficult from a content perspective. You have to wade through dense legal principles on your own. It's difficult from an emotional perspective. I have never been on a serious mooting team and not seen tears. I have been in situations where we are up for nearly 3 days straight, chasing the January deadline for memorials in Jessup, or a December deadline for memorials on ID Price. And just the sheer pressure of doing all that for when I was at the faculty in the middle of your exam season was emotionally draining. I didn't cry, but I can't say that I'm above those who did, because we all felt the strain of the activity emotionally, though we expressed it in different ways. Mooting is difficult in another way, in that you are put in close proximity with people who you may not otherwise be familiar with. So you, and Scott alluded to this, you're on a team with 3 or 4 other people, depending on the competition you do, where you are expected to spend a whole lot of time together. And you will be in very close proximity for very long periods of time. And they are very different personalities from yours. Many of them are people who you probably wouldn't have been friends with other than for the fact that you have this common undertaking. So for that reason, mooting is also difficult. So it's time consuming, it's emotionally draining, it's dense content-wise, and it requires a lot of people skills. So with all of those negatives, why on earth are we here celebrating the fact that we're making a mooting club and encouraging people to do it? We are here, and this is my conclusion, because I am confident, without even the shadow of a doubt, that the single most valuable thing I did in my 5-year study in law was to moot. It is incomparably the most valuable experience I had in my entire 5 years. I feel as though not much else could compare to being involved in a good moot. Why am I saying it is valuable? Firstly, because you're expected to interact with dense legal content all on your own, with the assistance of your teammates, but without any tutor or lecturer assistance, really. Because you're expected to be able to digest content like that, you become proficient at doing the task. The practice of law is not just an academic endeavor, it's a skill. It is a skill that you only develop through doing it. And you are that much better on day one at the job if it is that you've participated in an activity that would have required you to take a case from just the raw presentation of its facts and break it down into its complex issues and breaking down those issues into simpler questions and finding the legal content to support it, and then constructing from that an argument to go and convince a panel of judges that you are correct. Having had that practical experience before going to work, even on day one at a real job, is a completely invaluable experience. You are leaps and bounds above the game of your colleagues if it is that you've had this experience and taken it seriously. So that's one of the values of mooting. It teaches you the importance of just managing time, and probably more critically, managing yourself. Because it is that you're still expected to do well in school and you get no breaks from your ordinary schoolwork, even if you're doing something as consuming as the Jessup. Because you're expected to juggle all these things, you actually get the opportunity to develop your proficiency at time management and at self-management. I am not the most internally organized individual, but I do think mooting has caused me to develop those skills, and I see now that I'm working nearly 2 years. Well, just a little bit over 2 years. I've been working. I've seen how those time management skills have come back to be valuable to me. Mooting also provided me with some of my closest friends to this very day. My teammates, both from when I did Price at the faculty, which would have been what, 4 years ago, and from when I did Jessup 2 years ago, are still some of my closest friends, and we still talk very, very regularly. So there's this, so though you're thrust in a situation where you are interacting with people who you probably otherwise wouldn't interact with, you somehow find the ability to forge lasting friendships, which, from at least from my perspective, mean the world to me. You also develop a sense of resilience. Scott used the word grit, and I absolutely like that word, because you do develop the ability, and in the practice of law, you need the ability to metabolize pressure well. You need to be able to understand that you'll be under pressure from all fronts. You have a million deadlines and only 24 hours in a day, and it becomes very stressful and draining. So in as much as mooting is an emotionally draining task, it's a task that allows you to develop that sense of emotional resilience. So for those reasons, notwithstanding its challenge and its difficult and its stress, I endorse mooting as an extremely valuable undertaking, and I would encourage each and every one of you to participate. Now, what can you expect joining a mooting team or preparing for a competition? And I'll try to give my answer without being too repetitive of what Scott has said. Number one, expect that this is self-directed work. Expect that this is your responsibility, your baby, your project for the next, most moots would last for anywhere between 6 and 9 months. It is your primary responsibility for 6 to 9 months of your life. And the rest of your life doesn't pause, but it is something that you take ownership of. So you can expect to be required to put out a lot of the effort, to be very much self-motivated, self-directed, to take initiative, to do your own research, to do your own writing, to spend the time it takes to understand the content and understand it well. For our coach, when we did the Jessup, we had to know the facts like the back of our hand, and the facts for Jessup is anywhere between 21 and 22 pages long. Very, very detailed set of facts, and we had to be able to recite the facts with paragraph-specific references. So I have to be able to say, in paragraph 32, we learned that the president of Andushenka did XYZ, that sort of detail. And you only get to the level of that sort of detail once it is that you've spent a lot of time engaging with the material. And nobody's going to come to you to say, have you done this? Oh, you need to do it now. Nobody's going to establish your own schedule for you. Nobody's going to monitor and manage you. You have to develop the internal discipline to do it on your own and do it well. So that's one thing you can expect. In fact, that's the main thing you can expect. You grow as a speaker, and the value of this is underestimated because people think that good speaking skills, good oration is only valuable for those who intend to participate in litigation. I'm a litigator. I've only done litigation in my 2 years at the bar so far. So I fall in somewhat the classic mold of a mooter because most of us get up from the mooting role and fall into a litigation role at a firm, as I did. But there are many mooters who are not litigators. I know several mooters who did the Jessup and have never been in a courtroom by choice. However, the skill of oration that they have developed through mooting is not wasted, but for the fact that they are no longer involved in a litigious practice. The ability to communicate with clarity in terms of your oration, clarity in terms of the organization of your thoughts, clarity in terms of anticipating the barriers that your listener would have to understanding you, and packaging your message in a way that supposes and overcomes those barriers from the beginning. That level of clarity is valuable to every single lawyer. Whether you're speaking in a courtroom, whether you are in a commercial department, whether you're in conveyancing, it doesn't matter. So the essential skill of effective and strategic communication is something you develop through mooting. and it is extremely valuable. You also develop, through the practice of it, and really well-grounded analytical skills. The ability, as I said, the mooting problem is 20 pages long. If you're doing a price moot, maybe it's around 10 pages. That's the length of the problem. And you are reading through page upon page upon page of facts to be able to identify what principles of international law are triggered on these facts, which of these facts are important for my analysis, which of these facts help my state's case, which of these facts hurt my state's case. That is the sort of analysis that every single lawyer, whether engaged in a litigious practice or otherwise, a transactional practice, has to be familiar with, and the sort of reasoning that lawyer has to be equipped to undertake. So it's important to understand that the skills you develop as a mooter are transferable to those aspects of life. Two last points from me. One is that there is a selfish value to mooting. There's a practical benefit to mooting. There's a tangible benefit to mooting. It does look good to employers. At the end of the day, the fact that you are competing with 200 plus other people for very limited jobs is not lost on any of you. So you have to do whatever it takes to stand out in an attractive way to employers. And mooting is one of those things. In fact, there are probably two things, I think, that are more important than shiny, excellent first-class honor grades. And I would say that those two things are participating in mooting competitions as well as participating in internships while you are a student. So even from now, as a faculty student, I'd encourage you, I mean, where possible, to apply for internships and get them. But back specifically to the topic of mooting, for example, I am an associate at Dea Gordon in the litigation department, and every single associate in the litigation department, at least for the past 6 or 7 years, have been mooters. Every single associate hired, even to the firm's most recent hire, all participated in some mooting activity and would have been that much more attractive to the hiring committee here at this firm because of that. And I wouldn't think it's coincidental that we all participated in moots. Most of us participated in the dress-up at Norman Manley. So it is a means whereby you can set yourself apart. But lest you think I am contradicting Scott, let me go back to his original point. If the sole value of mooting to you is as a resume boost, you are doing yourself a disservice because it's not worth it. If you don't otherwise enjoy the process, if you don't otherwise derive joy from the moots, if all you're doing is wanting to legitimately put on your resume price, middle law moot, or the Jessup, it's not worth it. You're going to endure a whole lot of stress and inconvenience for other people or 3 other people on your team who are really passionate about it when you are not. So don't do it just for the resume value of it, but it's good to know that there is some resume value to be obtained. The last point I would share is that you have to be very conscious when you're going into a moot of the fact that you're on a team. And Scott made mention of that as well. You're on a team. The worst mooting stories I've heard from can share from either my own experience or experiences of other mooters is the nightmare teammate. And it's not the most enjoyable topic to raise right now, but it's the reality of being a part of a moot. You may find yourself on a team where not all of the 5 of you are as engaged in the task as the rest are. You might find that one teammate who is frequently absent from meetings or is so unwilling to compromise other aspects of their lives to give what it takes to the moot, or who is just disagreeable by personality, who does not make an effort to get along with other people. That nightmare teammate has been a reality on many mooting teams, and sadly has been the downfall of many great mooting teams who could have won their competition. But for the fact that if you're doing a moot like the Jessup, 4 people can't carry the workload, it's a full endeavor of 5 people. So that's one thing I'd ask us to be, aware of. Don't join a moot if you are not doing so with all your energy, all your passion, if you're not palpably aware of the fact that the moot is sacrifice. It requires a lot of you. It requires you to be willing and able to give a lot of yourself to the competition. Don't do it. Because it really does let down the other teammates if you're not willing to carry your share of the load. Because if you're doing a moot like the dress up, you are already undertaking a task that is impossible almost for 5 people working at full steam to accomplish in totality. You will never reach a moment where you have read it all, learned it all, understood it all in the dress up. There will always be more to read, learn, and understand, even if it's all 5 of you putting out your best effort. So imagine if there's one person on the team who's not carrying that weight. Imagine what the other 4 is going through. So if it's no shame in saying this is not for me, I don't need to participate in this. But for those of you who are willing to exercise the self-discipline that it takes to do well in a work, who are and able to marshal the internal drive to go and learn an area of law brand new and master it, I can say that I anticipate that, like me, you would say 2 years later that this was the best decision of your entire academic life, and that by virtue of you having participated in the move, you became personally enriched and professionally enriched, and I think that makes the world of a difference to me. And I must say I'm very pleased and proud to see the Mona Law Society making this initiative. It is extraordinarily commendable, and I wish you all success throughout the academic year, as different as this academic year will be. And I hope to be able to offer any support I can to the club as the year continues. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Okay, thank you very much again, Mr. Royal, for your pointers, your advice, your experience. We really appreciate it. Again, as for all the speakers, we really appreciate the time that you took to out of your, I'm sure, busy schedules to come and speak with us today. We are very appreciative of it. Okay, so that concludes the guest segment of this Mooting Club meeting. And at this time, I'm going to be officially announcing that, I'm so sorry, give me one.
Okay, in the meantime, while Stephen goes to handle his stuff, I'll start the announcements. So remember, we've been saying this whole time, we have some excitement that we really hope that you guys were listening, because we have some excitement coming. So the first bit of excitement that I must announce to you, and I am so excited to announce this to you, is that we are going to be having our first mooting activity next week, Friday, in the afternoon. We can finalize the time as a club a little bit more, but I'm thinking that we'll be having it at around 2-3 p.m. or starting around there. And it is what we have called the Anansi Moot. What we have done as a committee, as an executive, is we've adapted an Anansi story to create a little bit of a moot problem. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna allow for about 5 matches, depending on how many people are interested. It will only be up to about 5 matches, so we really don't have the most time to do much more than that. 5 short matches, consisting of 2 speakers, each team, two teams, each team having 2 speakers and up to 4 researchers, and they will be going at it on this moot problem that we've developed. So I really hope that you guys will volunteer in the group chat. You guys will be getting the video links that we presented today, the transcript from those videos, as well as the mooting problem. Everybody's gonna get it, so everybody can look at it and you guys can tell us in the group chat what with your volunteering and exactly who is gonna be on your team. And you only have a week, so the moving problem isn't very long because we wanted to make it a small first time activity for the club, and we're hoping that you guys will love it and will try your hand at doing it.
Yes. So that is our Anansi moot competition, and credit has to go for the idea or for the introduction of the idea to our secretary Stephanie. She is the one that introduced the idea, though the wonderful idea to have the Anansi moot. So we thank you, Stephanie, for that. Okay, and the next big announcement is that next year, we are obviously still planning and still working on it, but we're going to be having the Battle of the Titans moot competition. So that will be a moot competition between UE students, faculty students here, and UTech law students. So that promises to be very exciting. The way that it's going now is that it's looking like that's probably, well, it might have to be online. We're not sure yet. We don't know what the future holds with COVID-19. You know, it's so unpredictable. We wanted to have this meeting physically, but of course that wasn't possible. But yes, we are organizing that competition between UE and UTech students to see which faculty is superior. So that's going to be very, very fun, very interesting, and we'll
Right.
update you guys on more details presently or in time.
Yeah, but we can say though for now we know we're gonna have the tryouts for the team that in December. So
Yes.
in December we'll tell you the dates as we finalize things, but we know the trials will be in December. And guys, if you're not a part of the club, if you're not getting in your training, and if you're not ready to present when we have the trials, then you don't have a shot of getting on the team. We want to present the best of the best that UE Mona Faculty of Law has to offer. And we are not playing about UTech, guys. You know, we have a nice little rivalry going on with them. They're excited about it. I can tell you from the beginnings of the conversation, they're loving what they're seeing, and we're gonna just try and finalize everything as best as possible for you guys. We telling already, Mooting Club this year a beer excitement. Beer excitement.
Indeed. Indeed. So we're really looking forward to you guys volunteering and the participation in the club. And if there's anything that's clear from everything that has been said here today, all the persons that took time to come out and speak to us, is that mooting, if approached in the correct way, can be a very, very enriching, amazing experience, possibly the most important activity that you could be a part of as a law student. So that I believe
That's
that
it,
concludes
guys.
our first
Lunch.
mooting club we meeting for this year. And I'm just going to close. Well, I'm going to ask Shannon, our chairperson, to just close in a word of prayer at this time. Shannon.
All right, before I pray though, I want to acknowledge our guests again. Guys, most of the persons, or
Certainly.
pretty much everybody who came and spoke today, has actually committed, as you even heard them say, to be with us for the year and to really help in every way they can. I can tell you, Hanil actually was the person we turned to help with the Anansi Moot problem. So we already have them with us. You know, she and others have given us so much advice, and we're glad that we got to have them join us today and talk to you firsthand and let you guys know that we're having a lot of fun and how important mooting is as a law student. It was emphasized by every single guest today, and we're happy to have had them, and we're happy to have had you guys with us joining us, and we will be doing our absolute best to make this the best year the mooting club has ever seen since its inception. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna pray now.
Certainly.
So, Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. Lord, we thank you for the fact that we've been able to have this amazing meeting. We thank you for every guest that has committed themselves to us and who joined us today to share with the students a bit and let them know what we're having going on. Lord, we just even bless this entire club, the entire year, and everything that we'll have going on. We're excited, Lord, and we know that you are with us. So, Lord, we just ask that you would just continue to help each and every person involved in the process, the committee, the executive, and everybody who will volunteer for the Anansi Mood. We hope to have a really good time on next week, Friday. Lord, we thank you for the ability to do this and the gift that you've given us all to participate in something like this. Thank you, Lord. In your name, pray these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you again, everyone, for coming out and for staying throughout the meeting. Our next meeting is going to be in October.
Yes, the next meeting will be the meeting of the Anansi Mood, which is October 2 next week, Friday.
And so we look forward to having everyone again on. And here's to an amazing year of mooting on the Mooting Club. Thank you, everyone, once again.
All right, thank you, guys. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your
Adios.
day.
Bye.